Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. This week on the podcast, we're stepping out the fire station and into the fast-paced, high-pressure world of policing with a truly extraordinary guest. Ben Pearson has spent the last 19 years fighting crime on the front line as a member of the elite roads policing unit of West Yorkshire Police. As a key figure in Channel 5's hit series Police Interceptors, Ben has been at the centre of some of the most intense and dangerous moments imaginable on our screens, chasing down criminals at high speeds, arresting murderers, rapists and violent offenders, and bringing to justice some of the toughest cases out there. His career has been defined by courage, precision, and relentless drive to serve and protect. But Ben's story is about so much more than what you've seen on the TV. It's a journey that takes us behind the badge, offering an intimate look at the reality of life as a police officer, the highs, the lows, and the toil it can take. After years of dealing with fatal collisions, witnessing unspeakable tragedies, and losing his parents, Ben found himself fighting for a battle he never saw coming. His mental health deteriorated under the weight of the trauma and loss, and he discovered just how unprepared the system was to help those who serve in such high-stakes roles. Ben's book, Handcuffed Emotions, A Police Interceptor's Drive into Darkness, is a powerful account of his journey through PTSD, grief, and ultimately recovery. It's an unflinching look at the human side of policing, filled with stories that will make you think, challenge your perceptions, and inspire you to look at mental health in a new light. In today's episode, Ben opens up about what it truly means to wear the badge, the sacrifices, the challenges, and the lessons learned from nearly 2 decades of service. We'll explore the realities of being a police officer in the modern world and evolving relationships between law enforcement and the public, and the parallels between policing and firefighting. It's a chance to gain a deeper understanding of the dedication and resilience it takes to serve in these critical roles. So whether you're a firefighter, police officer, first responder, or just someone who values people that put their lives on the line every day, there's a lot in this episode for you. So sit back, grab a coffee, and join me in the eye-opening, inspiring conversation with Ben Pearson. I'll see you on the other side. I think I saw you first on LinkedIn. Well, that's a lie, isn't it? Because I would have first seen you on the TV. Right. And it got me having conversations with the lads on the watch way back when. And I was like, why don't we do anything like this in the fire service anymore? You know, we had London's Burning ages ago, and then we moan about recruitment and stuff like that. And the NHS have had different things and stuff like that. But when I first saw Police Interceptors, which is just going to be one very small thing of many of the things we're going to talk about today, but it might be where some people know you best if they haven't already read your books and stuff like that. But how did you feel about getting into that? Because when I spoke to some of the SAS Who Dares Wins guys, they obviously have that culture where they're like, we feel like we shouldn't be sharing this and all this sort of stuff. But I'm like, unless you give people insights into the job, being a police officer, I imagine, is bloody hard. Like your Marmite. Some people love you, but you're probably always there in the public's eye. You're ruining someone's fun. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the fire service, we usually get a positive reception. But like, take me back to when you first started doing the intercepts thing. What did you think about it? How did it come across your desk?
Yeah, so there's a fine line here, and a massive fine line, like you said, where we, the police, don't like to send out carte blanche tactics. We don't like to say this is what we can do, this is what we can't do. And personally, I don't mean interceptors, I think certain things got ruined in the police ethos before, such as we won't pursue you if you're dangerous driving, we won't pursue you if you go the wrong way down a dual carriageway, we won't pursue you if you've got no helmet on a motorbike. And this really kicked police in pods massively because people were learning what we'll do, deciding what tactics we had, and then they'd turn around and say, well, I've seen it on TV, we'll do this in the lab. And we were doing it, so we're laying too much out there. Was some of that true then, or was it some of it BS? Like, help us, because you do see, I mean, social media is a cesspit for myths, truths, and wrongly interpreted videos and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I mean, there was that thing, wasn't there? Like the other week of the police officer hitting a cow. Did you see that one? Jesus Christ, bless him. But what people don't see is the bit before it. If you see the longer video, where the cow's already damaged a few people, it's completely losing its shit in the street. And that person's like, I've got very few options. I've got to protect members of the public, and this is the only thing at my disposal because I'm a physical human being and I can't restrain this. But, so much stuff is always void of context. But, like, how much of the stuff that you were seeing
was complete BS. Like people, because also people got very sensitive about their rights, don't they? I'm sure you've experienced so much where people have this misperception of what police officers can and can't do, and that they're all going to beat everybody up or something. This episode is brought to you in partnership with Godiva Limited. Godiva is one of the world's leading providers of specialist equipment for emergency services market. Renowned for innovation, quality and reliability, Godiva produces a comprehensive range of fire pumps, including vehicle-mounted, portable, and their cutting-edge integrated total water flow control system, SAMFlows. I've been using Godiva my entire career as a reliable pump on the fire ground. It is such a crucial element of a successful firefighting team that you want to empower your crews with the very best, reliable, quality product. Reach out to our partners by checking the notes in the podcast. Now back to the show.
So, I cut it down shortly. In theory, we can do what we want. I know it sounds stupid. We can do what we want. And the reason being is it's got to be justified, proportionate and reasonable to the offence. So, we used to have a fire car. I don't know if you still have that. So, we had a chief fire officer. A bonfire night would come and we'd set off and we'd go around all the skip fires. One would try to drag you down a dead end, and fire officer would say, no, we're not going to that, it's a jilly call or X, Y and Z. So if we were out on patrol and we were fire crew and then someone tried to attack a fire officer, we'd be protecting them. But if someone pulled out a knife on fire officer, well, we've got to escalate that force.
We've had it on a few traveller sites around the area, and I'm not trying to scar and, again, sheep dip all the travellers, but they just didn't think much. Their risk tolerance is very, very high. Yeah. And they'd be doing stuff and we'd get there and sometimes they'd let us on site. Sometimes they'd let us on site, and you'll know this better than anyone, and then we wouldn't let us off.
Same with us.
Yeah. And we haven't really got any tools at our disposal to we've got no powers really.
Well, for that, one of the best things, you ask who's head at camp.
Yes.
And you go to the head of camp, you shake their hand, you speak to them, you get the respect from them, and they'll tell everyone to let you go. So that's one of the things we had to learn. But then, like I said, I don't want to say it in a daddy big balls sense, but we can use up to lethal force. So then, like you said, you see a lone shooter and you're in your car, you can mow them down.
Yeah. So
it's got to be justified, reasonable, and proportionate to the offence. So when we had pursuits and pursuit tried going down wrong way down motorway or wrong way down the dual carriageway, we'd ram the car, we'd take the car out. The thing is, we live in a world, and I want to just pull away from Interceptors thing at the moment and just want to tell you, we live in a world where everyone's got this thing about human rights. Fine, I get it. Everyone's got this thing about you can't upset me, you can't offend me, you can't do this, that and other. Totally get it. But there's also a thing where we police by consent. We're one of the only people in the world, there's a few other little forces, where we're policed by consent. And what that basically means is, Pete, there's been an allegation that you have done X, Y and Z. I need you to come with me to the police station to answer some questions on that. You are now under arrest, blah, blah, blah. And you consent to being arrested.
Have I, though? Because it sounds like you've not given me an option.
No, well, this is the idea. You consenting to being arrested.
Okay.
So then you get arrested. This is built on 1830s rules, when police officers used to be like proper, what you class as the authoritarian in the world, in Britain or anything like that. And now it's sort of gone the other way. So we can then, if you think about it, that's when we police by force. So if you don't come, we're going to have to use force and take you to the police station. You resist arrest, a big fight starts, eventually you get taken to the police. Which size are you? There's going to be about 8 bobbies jumping on you.
I'm soft as a puppy. I'm a kitten. Lots of bark, no bite.
And then people say to us, then both aspects of this. So, A, you don't do enough, or you're not robust enough. These people need a whack round head, like when I was a kid, bobbies give you a clip round here. Or you're too heavy-handed. Well, you can't have either if you police by consent. You've either got police by consent, and if you don't want to come with us, we'll just put us on because, right, go away, we're not bothered. Or we're policed by force in general, like America does, everywhere around the world does, where technically, if you create an offence, you are now under arrest, weapons are drawn, and you will come until you are in a safe environment and will also use weapons. That's policing by force. America don't police by consent, they police by force. So the most of all,
I'll give you the pros and the cons for both. Why do we not do that? Because I'm a bit of a knuckle dragging. I've never been in the military, but I'm a knuckle dragging militaristic right is wrong. I get told off at work all the time for calling people sir. It's just because of the way I was raised. Like I would, if I saw a police officer, paramedic, whatever, I'd say morning, sir. You know, I say it when I
Absolutely.
come onto the fire station, because on the fire station I'm at, we have paramedics and police officers
Yeah.
working on there with us. But like, we seem to have hemorrhaged that, and I don't think it's just for emergency services and first responders. I don't want to say we've hemorrhaged respect, but like it's a strange bleed over, isn't it? Between, like you were saying, around people's perception of their rights, and then thinking by simply being polite or adhering to the letter of the law or offering people respect, then that there's some sort of power dynamic going on, and then there's like an overly aggressiveness that I don't fully understand where it comes from. It just seems so like a boiling pot.
I think people have got to. I personally think people are lost. People don't know what to do. People have got then this thing that they see on TV or they see on news or they see on internet. The internet's one of the biggest things. When you don't have to give your name, you don't have to do this, you don't have to get out of the car, you don't have to. And I know my rights. Well, unfortunately,
What's that stupid one where people say they're part of a thing and they don't have to pay taxes?
Free man law, or whatever it is. Or,
is that even a thing?
No.
Some people say that. I'm like, that sounds like bollocks.
It goes from years ago. So we used to stop people driving. Right, I need your name and details. I need you. I don't have insurance. I don't have a driving license. I'm a free man. I'm a bit in free man laws, whatever it's called. Blah 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 blah. Well, where's your doctor? Well, my doctor's at Newton Waite Baildon. So you're not a free man. You've got a doctor.
Yeah.
You've got a passport.
Oh, sorry, is a free man suggesting they're not reliant on the state for anything there? This is one of those stupid things. I always say, like, there's no such thing as a baby. And what I mean by that is there's no one lives independent, because without knowing it, you are reliant on everything around you. Electricity, car, the very road you're driving on has been built by someone that's paying the taxes, and you, like you say, your doctor and your healthcare. There is no independent human beings anymore. And that's not a bad thing. We are all benefiting from this thing we call society.
Yeah, we are. And we generate pluses and negatives. So people like, I want to say us, we go out into the world, and I always say, if you fall over, I'll pick you up. If you hurt, I'll tend to your wounds. If you need a cuddle, I'll give you a cuddle. I think the world's built around good people, and I think there is a lot of good people in the world. There's also a lot of bad people, and a lot of these people will create an offence, especially arrestable offence, and then, right, you're arrested. No, you're not locking me up. And they'll have this thing where you've got no right to lock me up. I don't want to come. So you think about policing now by force or policing by consent. The moment I turn around to you and say, I don't want to come, and I'm not coming, you can't police by consent. It doesn't work. It's got no... But this was built in 1800s, and now if you're looking, we're in 2024. In 1800s, you ever think there'd be non-binary, there'd be cis, there'd be... Jedi Knight religion. It's just gone to a place where
we're just so lost, aren't we?
It's ridiculous. I think there's a lot of lostness, and we don't have rules anymore that cater for what we've got. We're trying to create the rules or use the rules from the past to create what we've got. It just does not work. So, like, let me just say little things like theft. Theft's a rule from like 18. I can't remember what it is, but say like 1830. Dishonest, reappropriate, belonging to another with intention to permanently deprive. How is that relevant now in today's day and age? How is that when you've got an electric car or electric scooter when the road traffic law in 1988? How is it relevant now? And things don't move on. So you look at stalking laws. You look at
I would appreciate things like stalking laws and other. I read an interesting one about rape the other day, because it's like an accidental false statistic where they said like 99% of rapes are committed by men. But then when you look at the way the law is written, rape is penetration.
Yeah.
Rape is so a woman can't commit rape. She could do everything that rape is. Yeah. She could physically, overwhelm me and force me down and whatever, force me to have sex with her, but it wouldn't be considered rape because of the way we've written the thing. A lot of the laws, and you see this in legislation, don't we? They're written in masculine text, which is fine. It's just the way we were back then, and that's kind of how. But that is that like an analogy for what we're saying there? Like these things struggle to evolve to, but there's some non-negotiables. I mean, we can't theft. Surely, there's very little interpretation with theft.
Well,
surely.
Let's say for certain things. So one of the things, you can't con a machine. So there are deception, and one of the things, you can't con a machine. So just say, for instance, you can't be deprived or con a machine, such as an arcade machine or something. It's not a human being. It's got to be deception through a human. Look at AI now. I can go to the computer now. So Does that make sense? The
Yeah. And maybe did we first start seeing that with credit card machines, maybe with the things that they slot in them? And although I suppose they were stealing the cards or reinventing the cards.
Devices now on you. I can't remember what it's called, where you can sit in and you want to write a paper. There's an AI device that'll write that writes all your paper.
It's crazy.
Well, hang on a minute. If it can write that, surely it must be able to deceive you. It's got that intelligence now. But when this was created, we didn't think we'd be living in these worlds.
No.
And that's what I mean. Things don't keep up. So you ask me a question, give me the pros and cons. Pros for policing by force are, I think less people will be injured. I think less people would resist arrest. Less people would probably be killed or suffer some sort of injury, stroke, death. George Floyd, so to speak. But they police by force. There's a difference. This is now what I'm going to say. So police by force. So you look at George Floyd again. When's enough? And I'm not on about the police doing that, but I've been there with people who have tried to either stab me, hit me with bats, and I've held them down so hard, they're probably shouting, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I'm not paying any attention to what you're saying. I've got 2 kids at home.
Yes.
And there's no way you're plugging a knife in my neck when you've brought the law.
Yeah.
So what boundaries are we giving you?
You only need to get lucky once because you probably don't get arrested every day. I arrest people every day. Yeah. So, and I think about this. I think Joe Rogan was interviewing a police officer and was speaking about it. Like, they must be petrified, like when they do stops, especially in America, and you're walking up and you think, at these next few steps, I'm so exposed. And same in the UK. I know we have different gun laws and things like that, but obviously you'll know far better than me, especially with the show and whatever we've all seen. And that's probably only a tiny glimpse of the reality of what we've actually done. I'm sure there's been a lot of tasty stuff they never released. But as you're approaching that vehicle, they only need to get lucky once and decide, fuck you. Turn around at the window, bang, open fire.
And you could be stopping 35, 40, 50 cars per night.
Dude.
Every single day of the week, 365 days a year, 20 years.
The cortisol, the anxiety that must cause. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together.
To give you an idea, CCTV in Bradford, Bobby stops the car, pulls alongside the car, but they're that way, if that makes sense, to go in opposite, pulls alongside the car makes off. It's on Bradford Watch, goes into a car park, goes up a road, throws a white bag out, sets off, disappears. Bobby's got a white bag's got a Mac 10 machine gun in the bag.
Hell.
So every time you stop a car in Bradford, what we do is we'll pull alongside you, roll your window down, take your keys out, put them on the roof of the car, so you don't make off. Our biggest thing is you're going to make off, we're going to have a pursuit. Instantly in our head, it doesn't think you're going to have a gun. But in America, everything you think of, as soon as you stop a car, they're going to have a gun. But what level do we change this? Because every time we get out of a car, we were thinking you could be armed, you could have a gun, you could have a knife, you could have a bat, you could have a power meter. Most of the time, we're single crewed at night shifts. We'll be going around dangerous areas of Bradford, pulling cars over, 3, 4, 5 people in car. When do we police by force? At what point do we need to be armed as a police force?
Because most of the time, if the public would say, "Oh, I think by this time, Ben," it's too late then. Yeah. I've lost control now, and these 4 people are beating the shit out of me. Yeah.
We have lost control, I think, on the streets with the criminals, but the decent people of society don't see this. You only see it when you're with criminals. But you'll know, because you'll work with a lot of firefighters, it's like me saying to you, well, should all firefighters be watch commanders? And you'll go, fucking hell. I know a lot of firefighters I wouldn't even trust with a nose pipe, let alone as a watch commander. Now, I know a lot of police officers, and there's a lot that I wouldn't even trust with a spoon, let alone a gun.
Yes.
It's not because I'm scared they'd shoot the wrong person. I'm probably more scared they'd shoot the foot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But also, I love that those people have a purpose. You know, I always say, like with my crew, I want them to be pit bulls on a leash. I want them to be almost a bit dangerous because they're so risk tolerant and eager to help and eager to do the right thing. I don't want a timid firefighter.
Yeah.
And equally, you don't want a timid police officer, because that person, if you're working with them, it only needs to be, I would imagine, that millisecond of hesitation when you needed them there and they're not. Yeah. So, I'd always rather they over-index into that, because that will create a safer environment for everyone. As long as you are reciprocal to my instruction. So and that's what it falls down.
We were in special operations in police. So we were based with firearms, dogs, riot squad, traffic, and the ANPR intercept team. Mm-hmm. So we were all one big unit. So I did what's called VIPEX. So I did Royal Outriding for Prime Minister, Queen. I were one of those. Wow. Now in London, these bobbies are armed. The Royal Outriders are armed.
Okay.
We're not. So they're on about bringing it in. So we says, if we're in ops, we do the same job as firearms in theory, but we don't carry a gun. Traffic can most likely get to a serious offence because there's only certain firearms cars. So for all of Bradford district, it might be 2. Mm. You might have 6 traffic cars out, just say for instance, but those firearms officers might be deployed somewhere else. So why don't we, if we're in ops, why don't we say, right, we'd like to be trained up with a sidearm, a Glock, we do on the firearms courses, you put some armoury down in Bradford, and then every day we get a sidearm. So if there's an instant shooter, there's a lone wolf shooter, there's a tourist event, we could in theory be first on scene. Now we're not technically minded to do tactical support like the firearms when they do all the building entries, but what we can do is give... I want a first shot, so whatever you want to call it, we'd be there at the scene first. We could defend people.
Or we could at least call their bluff to whatever extent. Do you know what I mean?
And literally, no, that's you just hit a brick wall. No, now we're not putting a fight up and saying, banging on the door saying, let us do this. But then when you come on work at Bradford, and Bradford's police station's in technically an industrial state, yellow lines all the way around it. 400 staff might work from there. It's only got 30 car parking spaces, so you've got to park your car 2 mile away kind of thing in this industrial state. And first thing you do, you log on in your night shift. Please be aware we've got a credible threat that someone is wanting to kill a police officer live on YouTube and cut their head off. Please be aware when walking through streets. But you're thinking like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
You've built a police station in the middle of industrial estate, yellow lines everywhere. You won't even speak to council and allow us to park outside because you're scared of what the public will think. Oh, police are parking on double yellow lines. Well, yeah, we are, because we're working here. We're industrial estate. At what point do you start thinking now you are losing control of what you're doing? And me personally, I live 6 miles out of Bradford city centre. I'm still in the BD postcode. I don't go into Bradford. It's lawless. I don't go in. It's just lawless.
That's what I mean. Like, aren't we telling ourselves a bit of an illusion? Because I live in an agricultural area. There's fucking guns everywhere. You know, like the gym I had was on an industrial estate owned by a farmer. He'd set up all these units. He was a very old man. He used to leave guns out everywhere. I would regularly pick up a loaded firearm, and take it back up to the house for him, because he'd been out with his dogs and whatever, and he just left it. And I'm just like, these things are everywhere. So it's not, like the American thing is, they say, well, more guns, more likelihood for someone to shoot someone. I'm like, yeah, but they're there anyway.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you're just closing your eyes and saying, oh, you can't see me. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're playing some sort of stupid game where we're disadvantaging those people who have had the training, have been through some form of assessment of their moral values, and we're empowering them with a tool to help us. But we already readily acknowledge the fact that people with nefarious means, with low values and poor motivations, they've got them. Why do you think there is such an aversion to it?
Well, unfortunately, it didn't help Sharon Bethaniski, who worked at Bradford, who were killed at the armed robbery in Bradford. Yeah. She went armed, they still shot and killed her. Dale Cregan with the 2 officers in Manchester, the 2 female officers, when he blew them up with several times. And Ian Broadhurst in Leeds on Boxing Day with, I can't remember what it called, the Hitman. It didn't stop him because... So the fact of the matter is, if you had a firearm there, you'd been able to engage, or there'd have been a threat level like, God, they've got a gun. But instantly, you come to England, I know it sounds... Just cutting this completely on its head. Yeah. I'm working with next-based dash cams, and they want to go and do some work in States, and want to take me to States, in theory, English versus American police cops kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Chad and I carry a Glock and an AR-15. I'm Ben and I've got a whacking stick. Do you know what I mean? It just, what world do we live in where you're giving someone a whacking stick and then people frown at it? It's more violent on TV to start whacking someone over the head with a club
Yes.
than it is to stand there
Yeah.
with a firearm and say, do not move.
Yeah.
And then you put also your firearm and you lock up. Same with tasers. Taser, do not move. But you've seen whack, whack, whack.
I know.
And everyone's like, and it looks bad.
There's much more potential for an interpretation of police brutality, and that probably isn't that's the right term, but I know it's the one that people commonly use in the public around, I could crack you over the head by accident and kill you. Yeah. Because you're trying to get away, you're moving, I'm just trying to subdue you. Please stop moving. Please stop moving. And I'm going to hit you really bloody hard because I want you to pay attention. And like you say, you've only got to get it wrong once. Whereas with a gun, it's like, I always like when I make rules with my daughter, we say, oh, okay, well, if you do that again, you're going to be grounded for a week or whatever. Yeah. And she'll go, a week. I said, but it's never going to happen because you're not going to do it again. So it doesn't matter. It's like it's like a thing that's never really going to happen. It's like me saying, I'm going to feed you to a dragon if you do this, but you're never going to do it. And it's one of those where you're like, yeah, okay, but they've got a gun. But I'm like, just do what I'm asking you to do. And there's absolutely incredibly low chance because I'm trained with this thing and I don't want to use it. Yeah. So it's enormously low chance that you're going to get shot. Whereas with the and also it's the proximity thing, isn't it? I've got to get so close to you to actually physically restrain you or hit you. I just want you to lie on the ground. Lie on the ground, spread your arms out.
That's all
and
you
that'll be absolutely fine.
Just come back from a stag do in Poland. They're all armed, no trouble. Spain, Guardia Civil, police locale, all armed. France, they're all armed. Sweden, Switzerland, wherever they're going to go in the world, all armed. America, they're all armed. America's got its problem because of the values of what they do with I've got the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
But Poland
theirs isn't a police problem, it's the way they've done the public bit.
Yeah. Poland don't have that. Spain don't have that. So when you get off plane in Spain and you got your bags and you're walking through airport and you see Guardia Civil stood there, do you have a panic because they've got a firearm? Not in the slightest.
You go, that looks cool.
When you're speaking to them on beats, do you have a panic because they've got a fire? Not in all. You don't think more Spanish?
I feel safer.
It's only this problem in America because of the right to bear arms. Now, we don't have that. They don't have that. I think when you go to Manchester Airport, go Heathrow, police are there, fully armed up, or massive conferences, concerts and that sort of doesn't bother me in slightest. No, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Brilliant. Yes. I know there's someone there in case the shit hits the fan. They can protect me. I think we need to start going forwards rather than backing off. One thing I'm going to say to you is, and I'm sorry if I've gone off on a tangent on this.
No, dude, tangents are where the best bits live.
So when we did stuff with the Prime Minister kind of thing, you see behind the scenes a little bit. And all the things that the government say, knives crime's gone down, this has gone down, it's because they fed this by one of their analytical expert on map reading and graph taking and this sort of thing, who's been given figures by Darren, who works in this office, and Physical of Institute of Studies. But he's not allowed to see what we see. When you go to Bradford, or he comes to Keighley, or he comes to so-and-so, everyone's moved out way. All the people that work in the office that might say something are all given the day off. Yeah. So when they walk in these offices and they're on TV, they've got no issues. There's no one allowed in the proximity. Everything's cordoned off. So they'll go, oh, I've driven through Bradford and it looks beautiful. Or I've driven through Leeds and it looks like this. So they don't see the real world.
It's like the Queen that thinks everything smells of fresh paint.
Yeah, and I've just been down to Cheltenham to do this video. And I don't know if you've been to Cheltenham. Stunning. It's like a little London. It's absolutely beautiful. And these are the people that will be saying, England doesn't have an issue. If this is all because it's just green, beautiful, stunning.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be any bad people about. They didn't look to be any, when I say this, I don't mean this in a negative context, but they didn't look to be any poor, like homeless people. Yeah. It just looked to be a movie set of people, all doing well, all having fun, and all being happy. And you think, well, if you go to the poorest areas in the UK and you see what's actually happening, and the drugs and the crime and the street violence and everything else, you'll be seeing what we see every day, and you'll know that we've lost control. If you're patrolling the beach in Cornwall and you see is people licking ice creams and parking on double wheel lines, unfortunately, you're not going to see what's happening in London, the city centres of Manchester, Birmingham. Look at the knife crime in London. Look at the amount of gang on gangs, the amount of stabbings, the amount of how life's just not worth anything to people anymore. And I just think shouldn't we be proud of who we are as a nation? Shouldn't we be proud to walk streets and it'd be like, where are you from? I'm from England. I'm from London. I'm from this. Rather than that embarrassing aspect of, we don't talk about it because we don't want to bring anything up. We don't want to talk about gang on gang violence. We don't want to talk about knife crime because statistics about
statistics as well. Like I was reading recently, ironically, another statement, which again, who gave the statement, I don't know, but it was like, the opinion polls have never felt so incongruent, which is what you're saying, with our own thoughts. And I thought to myself, like when they do the have you ever done a political poll yourself?
No.
Who the fuck is doing these?
Well,
but exactly. Politicians are doing them.
Yeah.
Like, with the greatest of respect, I rarely fill in a questionnaire from the council. Unless they come in person at the door, I'll give them 4 minutes. But I'm a busy person, work, kids go to school, dogs, horses. I'm a productive member of society. I pay taxes, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not paying time to fill out these surveys. So I think, where are they getting the data from? We're screaming in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the people at the council headquarters are filling out the council survey. And the other point as well, so there's a few things. I want to ask you about national pride a minute, because I think you're making a great point there and I want to double down on it. But also, what you said around these sort of entrenched areas. I go to these in the areas that I serve in, and some streets, the same families lived there for the last 90 years. It's like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. They are never. You've got to have a very strange set of circumstances where you meet Ben and you do 2 weeks with him by accident because you're on work experience and he has a really good influence on you and gives you some self-belief, and then you're lucky enough to be outside of your bubble for long enough maybe to just kickstart that self-belief. But most people will not have that. They will just get stuck inside. It's a bit like that gravitational pull. You know, you've got to burn 70% of the fuel to get out of the Earth's atmosphere or whatever. You've got to try so goddamn hard to get out of that community if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And most people, they'll get to the edge of that atmosphere, like they'll spend a week with you or whoever. Do you know what I mean? And then they'll just go straight back. Because it's just pulling them back. All my friends are there, my family, I know that. And also, if you are trying to better yourself, you're sometimes shining an unconscious light on the fact that, oh, you're saying you're better than us then, Ben. You know what I mean? Or you saying we're a piece of shit. Why don't you want to be part, and it's like, I think most of those people are just never going to get out of that. They're never going to break out of that. This episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the center of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show.
Well, we were locking people up that were literally children, 10-year-old, and then 20 years later when I'm still in job, we're still locking them up, but they're now dads, and then we've been locking their dads up. So in theory, grandma's been to prison, dad's been to prison, son's been to prison, and it's a kudos to how many bobbies you can assault, how many pursuits you can get in. It's just a joke. You go on the street, everyone's done it. And my dad was from one of these areas called Ravenscliffe in Bradford, and it's a massive council estate, very violent, very rough. And we used to go in there all the time. You get bricked, and all families are exactly the same. But my dad went to do an apprenticeship in Bradford, cycled every day 10 miles, 5 miles there, 5 miles back, did his tiling apprenticeship, worked hard, ended up saving some money, got a deposit, moved out, got a nice house, married my mum, got another, and then moved up, and we ended up living in, it's not what you call a posh area, but it's not what you call a poor area, if that makes sense.
But that's a real step change for the generations and the lineage of your family.
So we, in theory, I could have been on this estate driving around with quads, putting windows through, making a front police, but my dad made an effort, and next thing you know, then I'm a police officer enforcing the law in these areas. But you are what you want to be, and you can only look at yourself and make that effort yourself, because you can't blame anybody else for this thing of I'm not where I want to be in life because Pete's fault.
I agree, but also, are we, and I want to hold us both accountable here, we are very lucky. Like, my childhood wasn't perfect, but my parents are still together. They love me very much. I went to school. I got suspended a few times, but I wasn't inherently a terrible child. Committed a few low-level crimes, stealing sweets from the shop, silly things like that. But I was very lucky in that respect. And we're also, again, the whole genetic lottery, global lottery. We were born in the UK. We weren't born in North Korea.
No.
So I agree with you. But also, is there an element that says, would they even see a tool if it was in front of them? What I mean by that is, you say, oh, well, look, Ben, it's the old thing where you're angry and bitter because someone's ruined your life. And someone has ruined your life. That person is you. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, okay. So we can say that. But I wouldn't know how to get out of here. It's not a lack of, well, it might be a lack of drive. But even if you've got a massive amount of drive, do you think, and I don't know, but you probably you definitely had significant more experience with these people. I just go to homes where, people they're really down their luck. They're high level hoarding, or they've just got no money, or they're burning shit in their lounge because they can't afford the gas, or they're horrifically obese, or there's just shit up the walls and the kids haven't got a bed, and you're just like, wow. Like, it also gives you great self-awareness for me, and a gratitude, where I'm like, wow, I live less than a mile away from here, and I had no idea this was going on. But the question that was within all that waffle is, do you think these tools are accessible to the people that are really struggling? Would they even know if they really had that lightning rod moment and went, I'm going to change my goddamn life? Would they really know how to do it?
I personally think, yeah, they do, because I'm saying, I remember going to see babies because they were crawling around in dog shit on the floor and hypodermic needles, and we'll take a baby off mum because they weren't fit to look after them. But they started a 75-inch plasma TV in corner room, a Sky contact, and a brand new mobile phone. Mm-hmm. And I thought, me personally, this is me, and not on about that, but me personally, I'm the kind of person I hope to think that if you gave me £10, I'd find a way to make that £10 into £50.
100%.
Whether I go buy seeds, I go buy a cheap lawnmower from Facebook Marketplace and cut people's grass. Tell me you cannot get a job anywhere in the UK, whether it works in a factory, stacking shelves, picking boxes, picking things, sweeping up, ringing council saying, look, can I just sweep up on local street? Can I do it? To do anything.
Why would I do that? Help me. Let's role play that devil's advocate. So you're saying, okay, Pete, better your life, blah, blah, blah. Well, why, Ben? You're not happy. You work at Tesco's. You've worked there for 10 years and your life's shit, and you say you hate it. So why would I stop doing what I actually earn more money than you, Ben, because I sell Coke every week. Yeah. I've got a nicer car than you. Yeah. So why would I change?
You don't. This is the idea. So for me, it's like they've got no incentive. Now, the incentive for me, back to what I said, if you fell over, I'd pick you up. If you hurt yourself, I'd tend to your wounds. Like if you saw a young child in a fire, you'd run in. These people are what I would say cut of the same cloth, basically. And it's nothing to do with their upbringing. It's just to do with some people just don't have the moral compass that other people do. I think the good people in that area will want to get out if they're born into a poor family, they're born into a poor lifestyle. They will want to get out. But other people, like you said, are just I'm happy to sell drugs. I'm happy to commit crime. It doesn't bother me.
Because also, right and wrong is just an opinion, isn't it? Like, I had this with traveling. I'm picking on the traveling community. I shouldn't do that. I'm not. But anyway, it's just an example. Like, when my daughter comes home from school and she's so-and-so in her class has stolen something or whatever, and I'm like, well, right and wrong is just an opinion. And yes, there's laws. But what I mean is, if that person has just seen their mum or dad do this all their life, there's no problem with that to them. They don't understand why you're so upset. And that can seem cold and like they're sociopathic or psychopathic. God, he's just hit that kid. Oh my God, something massive has just happened because I've never seen my mum or dad hit each other, and we don't hit each other at home. And maybe in their house, they hit each other every day. Yeah. They don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's hard because but also if someone doesn't want to change, as you're alluding to there, what's the answer? Because we've also grown to the point in a society now where we can encompass and allow for all of these people that don't want, like way back when, if you were a proper wrong'un, we would just push you out of society and we'd put you outside the castle walls and hopefully you'd starve and then that'd solve the problem. Whereas now we've gotten so, we're so fat in our money and we've solved all the problems. No one's worrying about where their next meal's coming from. And, we've all got electricity and running water. That old Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're not struggling with the base level ones anymore. So it's harder to incentivize because they're not going to get pushed out of society. They'll just go on the dole or they'll just steal stuff. And if you take me to prison, Ben, okay, well, been there, brother. Yeah, 3 meals a day, free internet, see all me mates. I don't know. I've never been. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, what? And I know I'm asking you the impossible question. What is the answer for that? I mean, again, my answer is stronger policing, but I don't know.
It's reset button. It's the full reset button on everything because the laws
just sterilise them all.
No.
I'm not saying we're not going the Hitler approach here.
The laws aren't kitted out for today's society in the slightest. The prison sentences aren't kitted out for today. I mean, where you can get in theory 30 years for drug dealing, but 15 years for rape, and then 6 years for death by dangerous driving for killing a 4-year-old in a stolen car when you knock him over. It just doesn't work. These laws and punishments aren't right. And then there's not enough prisons, so everyone that's committed minor offences get let out. You get half the time served for good behaviour. Well, shouldn't you be good in theory? And
we already know you're not good. That's why you're there.
Yeah, but we were only 100 years ago before your cell were literally just a cell, and it was like bread and water. And then the next 100 years gone past what we're in now, it's gone into PlayStations, pool tables, gyms. Gucci. I know people have gone into prison with weed and come out on full-blown steroids and are ginormous. Yeah. And it's like, how is this punishment? Like you said, and well, I do gym, I do this, and I'm like, no, this is not.
But would their argument be human rights there? I'm sure that's what's probably that misperception of no matter what they've done, Ben, they still deserve to be treated with respect. Otherwise, we're as bad as them.
But what is a human right?
I have no. I'm going to say,
without looking at the context and
what do I think is a human right? I shouldn't be unnecessarily prejudiced against. I shouldn't be fearful of attack when I walk out of my home. Yeah. I shouldn't be fearful of my children being attacked. I should be given an opportunity to succeed in life. Yep. If I don't succeed, that's my fault. Yep. And I think in the UK, I have every opportunity to succeed. The game is set up to win.
Yeah.
Do I don't rely on the police. Hence, we spoke earlier about German Shepherd in my home and stuff like that, because all of this stuff is just a deterrent.
Yeah.
When I work with the police, I absolutely love them. And of course, people say, oh, of course you're going to say it with Ben. No, I fucking love them. A lot of my friends, police, they're great. I work on station with them. Great values. Their game is set up to lose, unfortunately. They have not got the tools and the support and the resources, because I know around my area there's probably 2 officers on duty on a 60, 70 bigger mile radius. So in the middle of the night, if something goes wrong, I need to become a much more self-reliant human being. Me and my family do.
I totally agree. I'm exactly the same. I don't rely on police. Our lass is a detective sergeant, but anything that happens, I will deal with. And I'll deal with it within the letter of the law. Mm-hmm. And if it gets to past that, well, it's only when they've come in the house or so and so. So the police need to go police the other people that are less fortunate, if that makes sense. Totally agree. But then what happens if you step outside the boundaries of what's humanly expected of yourself? What counts human rights then?
I don't know.
Common law, you are not meant to rape, you are not meant to kill. So you kill. Do you lose your human rights if you kill?
Oh, here we go.
If you rape someone, if you rape a teenager,
is that the eye for an eye example, though? You have clearly nominated you are not willing to adhere to this human race law.
Yeah.
Ergo, you've lost the right to them. It's a bit like you say, no student should be forced to be confined to a room. Okay, but if you break the laws of the school, we're going to put you in that room for an hour because you, of your own volition, have chosen not to be part of this group. We've all made this agreement by our very presence here that by me living in society and benefiting from that, I've unconsciously agreed to adhere to these things, and then I've taken a conscious action not to do that. Therefore, are my rights void? I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes too. So when you go to a prison, in theory, I'm saying in prison, this is how it should be. It should be a prison. It should be a bed, a wall, a toilet.
You should hate it.
Yeah, 23 hours a day, you're locked in. 1 hour, you do yard duty. No Xbox, no TV, no films, no hanging out with your mates, no doing rap videos and drill videos and doing all this thing and making a plan for what you're going to be doing when you get out. You do 25 years of what you've been sentenced to do and you do it. So when you come out, you're like, I'm not going back in there.
No.
But we have people that come out. I've known people come out, they go straight out of prison, they commit an offence and go straight back. Because they're basically on bail or not to commit, they're on licence not to commit, and they do it because they know they've got nowhere to live, they get 3 square meals a day, all the mates are in and they can go gym free. I've got to pay £30 a month for gym. I spend £150 a week shopping bill.
Yeah.
I spend £1,000 a month mortgage.
Yeah.
He's thinking like, fuck this for a bag of chips, I'm going straight back.
Yes.
What is that as a prison?
Where's
a prison
the
is a
incentive?
punishment.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be mean, I don't want to be rude, but this is where you've got decent people. You've got Mr. Miggins, Mrs. Miggins digging the garden up, putting daisies in the garden. They've worked their entire life. A 70-year-old, they're retired. Along comes the codhead with a balaclava on, halfway on his stolen scooter and robs them. What has he put in now to society? He should be now benefiting from the justice system and be put in prison. And that should be a 3-strike system. First offence 1 year, second offence 5 years, third offence 15 years, anything indictable offence, rape, murder, terrorism, anything like that, first offence 30 years. And crime will just stop. It will drop down because you'll go, I am not going to that cell for 30 years. But human rights will say, now I'm not on about getting out of human rights, I'm just saying we wake up in the morning, me and you, I'll pay my car tax. I'll watch TV, I'll pay my Sky TV, I'll go down. Someone wants to park in that bay, old lady, would you like her hand? We put back into society. And I'm about people that might not be able to put back into society because they don't come from a good upbringing or they come from, fine, we will pay into a system where your benefits, if you're disabled, if you're poor, whatever, we will pay for that.
And you can close that gap quite quickly as well if you want to then become a contributing member of society.
Yeah.
There's lots of opportunities for you to close that gap. Like you say, in a couple of months, you could close that gap.
But once you put that balaclava on and drive to someone's house at 3 a.m. with your mates because you want the RS6 parked on that driveway, you break in and assault those people, take the RS6, drive down the road, end up in a pursuit with the police, roll the car over and kill someone. I'm sorry, but everything you want to contribute to society, you have had your privileges pulled. And this is where we need to start thinking about the victims, not the suspects, the victims.
The team here at the podcast are extremely excited to announce our brand new partnership with Patrol Store UK. Patrol Store has been serving the UK's police, fire and emergency communities and first responder sector since 2008, providing leading brands such as Hikes, Magnum, 511, Nebo, Op Zulu, Highlander, AKU and many, many more of our favourites. They are now also supplying bespoke uniform, PPE and station workwear to fire services around the UK. So for all our listeners that are part of your USAR, your HEART team, your ISAR team, your armed response teams, your fire investigation, your NALO, your hazmat and all of the training departments that have got your own budgets, be sure to get the absolute best for your team at a realistic price by contacting Aaron and the team at Patrol Store and referencing the Firefighters podcast. Patrol Store will also be taking part in our listener competition giveaways as well as providing unique discounts to podcast listeners. So for people that are always asking about Hikes boots as an example, that is one unique discount code that is coming to you very soon through Patrol Store. We've also got some incredible bags. I mean, the Op Zulu bags are a game changer. So you know the really Gucci and expensive tactical black bags that everyone's using in CrossFit workouts and taking to the gym and taking to stations? Well, they've basically got that, but it's made better and costs less, because they're not slapping some Gucci expensive brand name on it and it's giving you what you want on a first responder salary. Be sure to keep your eyes in the notes of the episodes for links to unique offers and discount codes. And if you're looking to buy well and buy once, be sure to get in the notes and head over to Patrol Store UK. Now back to the show.
And the amount of jobs we go to, have you seen the video of the lad that I pursued in Bingley and Interceptors, a 12-year-old?
Yes, I think that's on your YouTube channel, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm not mentioning any names. Shipbag in Shipley, just around the corner from us. I think he got locked up. 12-year-old, I think crime went down by something like 37% overnight.
Wow.
Because he got locked up. Since he's been released, I think he's been in another 7 failed to stops, dangerous pursuits. I think I'm sure one person's been killed that were in the vehicle with him, or potential fatal killed. Again, driving these cars, crashing, running off. Think it's brilliant. No, unfortunately, how is that contributing to all the people that's around us? How is that contributing? So you are now, every time you go out of your house, you're all rolling a dice hoping he's not going to be coming up the way with you driving with your daughter. Every time your daughter's old and gets off bus, you're hoping, you're rolling a dice that he's not going to be coming up the way in a stolen car and hits her. He's not going to think twice.
No.
You're going to think twice because it'll ruin your life. I'm going to think twice, it'll ruin my life. What is he putting back into our world? And the people, the elderly people that have worked all life, the ex-servicemen, the ex-army people, all the disabled people, all the people in the world, in the UK, that need something, what are they putting in apart from taking? Now, my level of punishment there would be, like I said, you need to be going down for a long time, and then what you need to do then is bounce it. If they're underage, you need to bounce it to a family member. And that's the way I see it. I don't see, you can't deprive them of the benefits. Deprive them of the benefits, all do is go out and steal more.
Of course.
But if you knew as a guarantor, such as me and you, my son Isaac's 8 years old, so, or is he 7, all right? He's 8. Oh, I don't know, I'm not right, good dad. But just say, for instance, he gets a 12-year-old, starts going in bad crowd. Until he's 18, I'm his guarantor. Whatever he does, commits, I get done for.
Oh, wow.
You with your dog, dangerous dog act. Is it your dog's fault? Is it your fault?
Oh, yeah, I always say this. There's no such thing as bad dogs, just bad owners.
Or is it bad children or bad adults?
It's bad parents.
So if he goes out at 12-year-old, commits a burglary, and he gets convicted of it, what's sentencing him going to do? But when dad goes away, see you, son, thanks, I'm going to work for 12 months.
Could I, and I know we're talking in a utopian world here, could I sign that off? Could I say, Ben, he's fucking Lily, my daughter, she's a wrong one. I apologise. I failed as a parent. She's shit. Do whatever you like with her. Because, mate, like, this is it. Like, there's the shoulds and the musts of the world. For us, there's a musts. Must pay my mortgage. No one has to make me feed my daughter. No one has to make me pick her up from school. Because they're musts. Somewhere in me, in my blueprint, they are musts. Yeah, like you say, someone leaves the wallet on the side. It's excuse me, sir. Whatever. These are musts. To some people, they're shoulds. I should look after my child. I should, if it's convenient and I've got time and whatever. And this is where you see some of the abhorrent things that sometimes parents do to children, and you struggle to even see it because it is so foreign to your blueprint. Someone's abused their child. Someone has, left their dog in the car and it's dead because it's a really sunny day. Whatever. And you just think, I can't put my head in the blueprint of someone that would do that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And so how... I don't know. And this brings me back. Like, I think of it with leadership when you were just saying about the old man and woman in the garden, they've paid all their life. And they are under the impression that when that thing happens, Ben and all the guys and girls are going to come and protect me because that was the contract we societally signed all of these years ago. And I think if it was leadership, like if I've got an underperformer on my team or someone that's taking the piss or whatever, out of respect for the rest of my team, I have to deal with that because otherwise I'm betraying the rest of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like, is that, alluding back to what I said we're going to double click on, is national pride. Like, do we feel, and actually, this reminds me, this is a great tie-in. It reminds me when I was reading the book. So when I was reading, I think it's in the first bit from Handcuffed Emotions, Against a System That Failed Me. Yeah. It was one of your statements. I think you alluded it to mental health, and we'll get onto that in a bit. But like, do the members of the public just think the system's failed them? Because it is so sad that we don't have that level of pride. Like if you saw a British flag flying on someone's house, you wouldn't think necessarily, oh, they're proud of the UK. You might go, BNP.
BNP. Yeah,
exactly. BNP. I bet they're racist.
Yeah.
I bet they hate Ukraine, whatever, I don't know.
Back to basics. I remember someone said something recently about the war, and they said something about, not about this national service thing, but the war with Russia or whatever, and they said, you might get conscripted. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Going, I won't do it. But less than 100 years ago, 16-year-olds were fighting to get into army, to go fight Hitler. I'm proud to do this. I'm proud to go and fight. And no one wants to do it anymore. We've lost that identity.
Could I give you a pivot on that as well, though? Because I had a doctor on from Germany, and their conscription, I apologise if I'm misquoting this, you can do it in any service. So a lot of them join the fire service there for 2 years because that's part of their national conscription, and that really teaches you so many life lessons, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That personal admin, self-reliance,
Yeah.
adhering to rules and things like this. So I'm a fan of it personally. If you said, look, you can either join the police, you can support at a school, you can help the NHS, or you can help the fire service, and you got to do it for 2 years. I think that would be a huge lever in raising up societal values. I mean, are you where do you sit on the fence with that?
Exactly, no, exactly the same. I believe in either national service or what you've just said. But have you seen the one where they joined the army recently?
No.
There's a TV program when they joined the army. I can't remember what it's called. Like Marine.
Oh, is Billy Billingham running it?
No, it's one where they're going to like army training camp, like not Marines. What's it? Paratroopers camp.
Okay.
And first thing they do, they get told how to wash.
Yeah.
Because they're coming from an house. I'm not being funny. They don't know how to wash.
Nope.
So they're being shown how to wash the balls and the genitalia, being shown how to wash their ears, they're being shown how to shave, because they've never been shown how to shave. I didn't know how to iron when I joined the police at 24, 25. I did not know how to iron. I didn't know how to pull boots.
I joined at 18. I didn't have a clue.
And then you learn. I learned how to cook. I learned how to iron. I learned how to pull boots. I learned how to look after my house.
We have that, mate. When we have new recruits, and a thing we always say is like, right, everyone cooks on the watch, and we rotate around kitchen duties, and we'll go, right, recruit, you're cooking Saturday night for the watch. And if they've got enough about them and they've created a good relationship and we've built rapport with them quickly enough, they'll go, look, I can't cook. I mean, like, what do you want? Beans on toast? And some of them will bring in. I've been on stations where they've brought in loads of McDonald's. Yeah. They've just bought loads of McDonald's and brought it in for everyone, or pizzas or whatever. But I'm like, no, cooking as a watch. Someone will help you. Someone will be your sous chef. And that is, some people have said that's some of the most beneficial stuff they've taken away from it, because it's the whole a village raises a child analogy. The whole watch raises that firefighter, and they all get a fingerprint of a bit of that person placed upon them. Because you're right, some people come into ours now and they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to iron. We've accidentally employed people because in certain services they didn't check, who haven't even got a driving license. Yeah. Because they've just never wanted one, never needed one. And then you don't realise until you're like, right, you're going out on cover duties tonight, Ben, to whatever station 40 miles away. Well, how do I get there? Haven't you got your car? No, I don't drive. I'll give you a station van. I haven't got a driving licence. What? How does it make you feel when you tutor these people, when you make them blossom? It feels incredible, and they love it. You're like, feels like a member of their family. Even little stuff, like we used to assume everyone knew what toolboxes were, and because we never used to include it in recruit training, but we do like a toolbox fam now, because you can't just get to the person that's stuck behind a swimming locker. They're stuck in the changing rooms, or they're stuck wherever, and you go, just get that door off, because I'm going to go and send a message, and then we'll start. And then you come back 10 minutes later, and they're just stood there staring at the toolbox, and you're like, hinges, tell you what, just unbolt the door, Jimmy inside, turn the lock, with what? Just grab that Phillips. What? Is Philip? Is he on today? And I'm like, can I have some tartan paper, please? No, that's fine. Like, you don't know what a socket set is. You don't know what a monkey wrench is. You don't know what a set of grips is. You don't know what the nose pliers are. And this is not their fault. They have just had a different upbringing. My dad ran a building firm for 40 years. So I was lashing, and he was also a Cub Scout leader. Yeah. So my knots and lines were on point before I was fucking 10 years old. I was climbing on top of vans, climbing on roofs. I knew a lot about construction and types of building materials, which all aided me when I joined a job like this. And also, having a shit job when you're younger, and maybe this is a thing I'd love to ask you about as well, like not being allowed to have a job now till you're 16, 17 or whatever. When I was on a building site, when I was 12, and people were chucking stuff off scaffolding and it was hitting me on the head, and I was given a little hard hat, or I was filling skips for 9 hours with asbestos or whatever. There was so many bad things, and I get it. I get the analogy of abuse and financial abuse and child slavery. Bit extreme. I don't really think that's what's happening. But even like working on the market, it's really character building stuff. Like this person isn't abusing me, but when they go, wind your fucking neck in, Ben, yeah, and go and make the tea. Okay, I didn't die, and I learnt a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
But we've lost that bit as well. And now, like my daughter, she's 12, can't get a paper round. Why? Because all the fucking 30-year-olds have got the paper rounds. There's men and women walking around doing paper rounds.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm not judging them as such, but I just think like how again, if my daughter, because of the podcast and the businesses she's had, she's got that little bit of an entrepreneurial itch. And I also say to her, like, yeah, Daddy can give you money, but like try not to be gimme to the world. Yeah. Because you're always a victim then. Yeah. I've earned this, it's mine, and I can do whatever I want with it. Earn things. Yeah. But then when she goes, great, Daddy, what can I do? And I'm like, well, it's all gonna have to come from me and Mummy, because you can't get a job. I can try and crowbar you into the local restaurant to do some washing up, but they're dead against it because it has to be minimum wage, and that 30-year-old's got the job again. He's walking, dropping off papers in the day and washing pots at night. And do you know what I'm trying to say? Is what was your first job? Ever heard the quote that true leaders are readers? Well, we believe this is true. Listeners often ask where we go to keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the sector globally. So there are a few key publications which I encourage you to go check out. Now, if you're looking for insights on disaster management, fire protection, and firefighting, for us, we go to Asia Pacific Fire Magazine. And when you're looking for the latest on the Middle East fire protection industry and fire services, it's Gulf Fire Magazine. And our quarterly check-in is with International Firefighter Magazine, reporting to municipal, industrial, and fire training professionals. Now, next up, and widely accepted to be the global voice for passive and active fire protection. This is a good one. It's International Fire Protection Magazine. And finally, and perhaps the most relevant to our predominantly UK audience, I'd strongly suggest subscribing to UK Fire Magazine, reporting to the United Kingdom fire protection industry and fire services. We're really excited to announce that after a long-standing relationship and mutual respect, we've now partnered with MDM Publishing, who bring you all of these essential publications. Because in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. Eric Hoffer said that, and I believe he was right. So keep growing, keep learning, and keep yourself in the know and at the cutting edge of what's happening globally by dropping into the notes. And as a gift from the podcast, you can actually subscribe to any of these publications for free using the link in our notes. Now back to the show.
So my dad was a tiler, so I worked with my dad on building sites like you, or doing the mixing, adhesive mixing and grouting. I think 12, like you said, 12, 13. Then I started working in a brass factory. One of the neighbours had a brass factory, so it were combs for wool. Yep. So it were metal brass thing. You put spikes in it. So I remember it was about this big, and it must have had nearly 1,000 spikes in it. And they were like needles you sew with, and you had to literally pick one up, drop it in, pick one up, drop it in. You had an hammer, and then you put it on a grinder and ground it in, and that were it. And I remember coming out of there, 12, 13, just covered in black dust. I've probably got some sort of lung disease. Started stacking shelves in local, what called salt air wines, which local newsagents stacking shelves at 14, 15. And I've always worked. I cannot understand the fact of not wanting to earn money, because like I said, you could give me £1 million tomorrow. Yeah, brilliant. I'd go buy Porsche. I'd have a bit of fun and this sort of thing. But if you said to me, right, I want you to do something and you can earn 500,000, I would rather do something and earn 500,000 than be given $1 million, because it makes you feel benefited. You've done something. You've learned something. Since I've come out of police, how long have you been in service for?
17 years.
So since I've come out of police, I've learned there's a completely other world that I've never known about out there. And you can earn money just by talking to people, or you doing advising online or whatever. And it's nice to know you've still got some sort of thing to give back.
Massive.
Yeah, if people in uniform, this is why I do mental health stuff. If you get out people in uniform, you can still help people in civvies, but give as much back. And it's those people that I wake up in the morning, I'll talk about this in a minute, difference between mental health and mental illness. I've got a mental illness that lasts all my life. It's controlled by therapy and medication. My mental health is brilliant. I go to sleep in the night happy, I wake up happy. But I'm constantly thriving about what I can do, how I can make money, how I can push forward, what I can do differently today that I didn't do yesterday. And this is the difference between people. And I'm ill. So when someone's 25-year-old, living on an estate, really strong, really fit, but just can't be bothered because of X, Y, and Z, and my dad's been locked up. That's why I'm saying to you, I don't accept that.
No.
I don't accept that aspect of people, because the older I get, the more ruined my body gets because of the injuries I've sustained at work. I'm 48-year-old now, and I'm physically knackered. I'm just a shell of what I used to be. But my mind is constantly thinking, can I invest in this? Can I do that? Would I buy that? Would I sell this? And it's all like,
exciting. It's a game.
Yeah, it is. And then so today I've spoken to BBC. I've been interviewed at BBC, and it's a pro. Do you know This Morning on ITV? They've got one on BBC with Rav Wilding and Stephen Jones, whatever I think it's called, Gethin Jones.
Rav used to be a police officer, didn't he?
Yeah,
police officer?
And,
handsome fella he is, isn't
he? Yeah, I know, exactly. First thing I said to her is, have you got any jobs? And she went, what do you mean? I says, I want to get more in
hell yeah
mainstream media. She went, oh, right then. And I says, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Shy kids don't get sweets. I always say that to my daughter. The worst thing they'll say is no. Yeah. And even no doesn't mean no forever. It means no right now.
Yeah.
Because Rav got sacked last week. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever. Someone might leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you need to be there and be ready. So ask. Always ask.
You're thinking about it and you're in the mind. Ben Pearson, oh, I know that. Next thing you know, you could be on. So I'm always thinking about.
People always ask me that all the time. As the podcast grows and stuff, we reach about 600,000 people with it now, and they're like, "When are you going to leave the fire service?" And I'm probably a bit of a romantic dick because I'm like, I really like it though, and I'd feel like a fraud. But then is that bollocks? Because you've got a fantastic career, tremendous amount of experience, and you've left the police.
Yeah.
And still, I know you've only got to look, I was on SAS Who Dares Wins, and you meet all those guys. They've made, like Ant Middleton did a very short period of time in the military. Yeah. And I'm not, he's fucking obviously way better than me at lots of things. And he said it, I've heard him he runs his own podcast now. And he's like, I wasn't in the military. I've been doing this for a lot longer than I was ever in the military.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You've only got one chance this life. It's only one merry-go-round. It's not just rehearsal. And then you said to me earlier on, you said something about, you just said, for instance, I could save 10,000 lives, I could save 10,000 babies, and no one will remember that. They'll remember the one job I got wrong.
Yeah.
And then when I'm gone, when I'm dead and buried, no one's going to remember all the lives I've saved, all people I've put in prison for murder and life imprisonment, and no one's going to remember all that. So what you need to do is you need to make the biggest impact you can do now and today. So if you're firefighting and it's brilliant and you camaraderie with lads and blah, 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 fantastic, stick with it. But someone turns around to you now and says, Pete, I'm going to offer you this. You think, hang on a minute.
I've had a couple. And I feel like, but what is enough? And that was the problem that I wrestled with afterwards, because a very good self-aware friend of mine, who again was only in the fire service for about 6 years, and then his energy business that he ran really took off. He does ground source heating, and I mean took off beyond took off, 7-figure stuff. And he still says to me now, I was like, okay, well, what was enough? Because if you can't tell me what enough is, then you're not thinking logically. You've just got a whimsical belief. You're just being romantic. Because if you can't give me a number, it's like when people say, oh, I'd retire if I win the lottery. Okay, how much would you need to win? And it depends what level you're thinking on. Because if you're only thinking about looking after yourself, you actually need a very small amount of money. Number of hundreds of thousands, but a small amount by a grand scheme of things. But if you go, that would be my opportunity to do X. Like my number would be quite big if someone, but also the sort of waste ground of lottery winners. I wouldn't want to win the lottery at all, because it'd ruin that hunger, I think. Like I've got Stay Hungry tattooed across my shoulders, and I'm a recovering addict and ADHD, so I know that is part of me. And if I solve all of my problems, I've had a series of businesses before this, and I think of them like Lego. Like I'll build them and then go, bored now, smash it to bits, do another thing. And that's a bad habit, maybe. The podcast is actually the thing I've done for the longest, because it's a bit of a trick. It is a limited company, but it's all about people and experiences. Like going and spend a day with Ben, get invited. I just came back from Saudi Arabia for a couple of weeks doing the toughest firefighter alive out there, going to Sweden for another event. I'm working with TRX and Through Dark, and this cool shit that you get to do that there's actually nothing to do with the job. But that's where I think as well, like, talk to me about the shift systems. I know we're totally going off on a tangent, but like the fire service, because of the way we work, we get a lot of time off. It's really a part-time job. And even on the nights, you're sleeping in beds. Do you know what I mean? Police, I think, is a lot harder.
Yeah, because I've got mates in fire service, 4 on 4 off, 12-hour days, and they, like I said, they're all window cleaners, they're all joiners. They've got another job, and like I said, on nights they just say they'll sleep unless something comes in. Police, 2 earlys, 2 lates, 2 nights, 4 days off. So your earlys are normally 10 hours, 7 till 5, somewhere around that. Your lates are 12 or 1 till 10 at night, and your nights are 9, 7. Your first rest day you spent in bed, so you've got 3 days off. But the thing is, you can't sit in the station. I'm not saying there's no, or you do, because I know how hard you work. But we've got to be out all the time.
No, I'm not here to sing the fight. We are very, very, very lucky. But I also say lucky by, like, I think of it like kids. Like, if we're society's kids, police officer, firefighter, paramedic, we're your kids, and you're only actually looking after one of us, and I think that one is the fire service. Like, the fire service doesn't get paid very much, which, okay, fair enough, but you do get to sleep. I think your rest is a lot better, your pension's still okay. But someone else saying, like police, and going, well, just because you abuse your kid doesn't mean I should be doing the same. I don't think the answer is take all of the things away from the fire service, get rid of the beds, make them do. No, look after the goddamn police and paramedics a bit better, can we?
Yeah.
What you're doing to them is not right. That's wrong. That's why police and fire and paramedics have much shorter careers, because it's bloody hard.
We spend, in theory, up to 10 hours driving 230 miles a night.
Fuck that.
And then we've got to then drive at high performance level in a pursuit, maybe at 5 in the morning when we've been working 8-9 hours, up to 155 mile an hour. And if we get it wrong, we can go to prison. So with us, it's one of those things where we can find crime out there, and that's probably what we do on a night. We'll find the majority of crime. We'll come across it, and we'll come across the anti-burglars. We'll come across the people in gardens. We're right reactive next to it. But there's times when we just literally need to sleep.
Yeah.
They'll like, no, you need to be out of station. But
this is the thing, like when we say about putting you in that intense scenario, like firefighters, we turn up, quick decision making. If we go in anywhere, it's usually someone's having the worst day of their life. Like, even my brother-in-law's a paramedic, and he says, you go to woes more trauma than we do, because they just go to someone's got blood in their poo, and we sit in the lounge with them for 4 hours looking at that, and then take them to hospital. Everything we go to is usually exciting stuff, and then we've finished doing exciting stuff, we hand it over to the police. And they sit there, scene to crime all night. The Socco team just stands there for 9 hours, and I'm just like, but then if someone gets attacked, I'm expecting Ben to respond with the highest of values, super assertively, thinking in this very dynamic environment. No. I'm setting him up to fail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I can't say any more, because in theory, you're expecting me to think in theory, like I said. So some bobbies will wake up at 7 in the morning, and like you, due to their family life, won't be able to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night or go to bed through the day. So they'll have to stay up from 7, go to work at 9, patrol all the way till 7 in the morning, drop the kids off at 9, and might go to bed for 4 hours. And then come into work, and you're expected to drive a car then in a high-speed pursuit, So I don't know if you've ever been in a pursuit. Just let me throw this at you now.
If you're a regular listener to the podcast, then chances are you are big into your own personal development and the development of firefighters around you. So I wanted to remind you of our mobile app Drill Book. This is a free training and development resources made by firefighters for firefighters. Heading on to Drillbook, you will find incident debriefs, radio messages, knots and lines, quick reference guides, quizzes every single day. We've got useful links to the ERG, to Web Rescue, to Jessup, Euro Rescue, 10-second triage, National Operational Guidance, and not to mention our daily quizzes where you will find questions on extrication, casualty handling, breathing apparatus, fire development, water rescue, rope rescue, you name it. It is the go-to resource if you've got a spare 5 minutes on the firehouse to develop yourself and those around you. Not only that, if you're looking to get into the fire service, we've got advice on there on interview questions, interview answers. You can build your own questioning in there. And again, remember, this is built by firefighters for firefighters, so you can add your own drills in there. You can pick the drills that you find the most favorite. There is literally hundreds of training ideas, hundreds of drills in there. Remember, this app is absolutely free and it grows every single day down to the contributions of our thousands and thousands of users. It's freely available on Android, Apple, and you will find it in the links for this podcast. Remember, it's called personal development. The clue's in the name. You've got to work twice as hard on yourself as you do on the job. So always be growing, always be developing. Now let's get back to the show.
You know what it's like in your driving test?
Yeah.
Are you a driver in fire service as well? So you drive tenders.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember your tender test in theory?
Yeah.
Imagine
but ours
that.
only goes 64.
But imagine that you've got to drive at that level all day at 150 mile an hour.
I remember when I did my 2-week blue light course, like 11, 12 years ago, I was knackered.
Yeah.
Like the cognitive load of paying attention. Yeah. But it was like 7 or 8 hours of driving a day for 2 weeks. I was fucked. My body wasn't doing anything, but my mind was just, the cognitive load was massive.
Yeah.
And I was knackered.
We have to look at then the bandit car we're pursuing, think about road traffic law they're doing. Then we've got to also think about the law we're adhering to and the laws they're breaking. We've also got to do commentary. We are now 50 miles an hour, A650 being a bypass towards Shipley. We are now left. Not only that, we've got to do a plan in his head to get Pete up there with a stinger, to get Dave up there ready as a boxing car. M-Pass is coming from Wakefield, the helicopter. So we're telling him the way they're going. We've then got to put a static plan in. Right, what I want to do is I want to get a boxing car on this side. I want to get a stinger on this side. And we've got to all do that, get them locked up, go back to Nick. And if we fail and we get it wrong, we're eligible for dangerous drive, death by danger. There's nothing in law to protect a police officer for driving.
No. It's always the first thing we say to us as well. You're not exempt from the rules of the road. The blue light thing and the sirens is a bit of a trick. It's just to let people know that you are going to interpret these rules slightly differently, but you are still adherent to all of these rules. And you're risking your license. So this is why we actually are struggling to get drivers in the fire service now. I used to think everyone wanted to drive a fire engine. They actually don't. Some people don't even want to drive cars. And we don't pay our drivers anymore. And a lot of people, as you've already alluded to, and I didn't actually know that about the police, thank you, is that you are risking your own license. If that person that I hit wants to sue the fire service will pay them, but the law will go against me.
Yeah.
And that, when people hear that, they're like, no, I don't want to fucking drive a fire engine. And why would I? I can sit in the back and just do the fun thing when we get there.
But this is what I've always said, how does driving without due care and attention, so that falls below a reasonable standard of driving, how does that adhere to a fire engine when it's going on the wrong side road with blue lights on, going to an emergency, someone trapped in a building?
Yeah.
How is that classed as a normal? How do you class that as a due care? Well, you wouldn't do it as your normal car. No, I wouldn't fucking do it as my normal car because I'm wearing a fireman's outfit and driving a fire engine. So it just doesn't. But again, this is how it works. Back to the reset button. Back to, right, let's protect as emergency services because they're out there doing a job with the best intentions. Criminals, completely different. Let's look at the hours of work. Let's look at how they do it. Let's look at the rest period and what they spend with the family because they're doing it with the best intentions. So when I broke, I was clearing up 2-year-old dead children off floor and having to come back and play with my 2-year-old daughter. There's no flexibility. You're poorly, you're not. You're poorly, you're off shift. You're poorly, you've lost your permits. You're seeing a lot, Pete. You've done a lot. You've just pulled 4 kids out of a burning fire and they're all dead. Next day, why is Pete late?
Yeah.
Pete's struggling here, lads. Come on.
Have you finished that report from last night yet? No, I fucking haven't actually. To be honest, I was sat at home just numb for about 4 hours. So you could have got it done then?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, right. Okay, yeah, I could have got it done.
Yeah.
is what you don't care about me. That's what you just told me. That's what your email saying I need that report in the next few hours. That's what you just said there. You said I don't care about you as a person.
I couldn't get my head around this. I'd done 19 years. I was poster boy at one point for West Yorkshire Police on Interceptors with X, Y, and Z. We'll broadcast across. In theory, it's gone across the world. I was putting away murderers, child rapists, and I was going out there to catch these people. I didn't stumble across them. I was going out to find these people. I was using my own intel, and I was doing everything I've done. And then the collar number 1965, which is my collar number, 1965, brilliant. And I thought, as soon as I walked out the door and I was mentally poorly, you've gone, your collar number goes to someone else. You look at your Facebook Monday morning, 800 friends, you retire or you let go on Tuesday, 600 friends, all people that you work with on shift. No one wants to talk to you anymore. You've gone. No one cares. No one texts you, and you've gone.
That's the drop
see
shock, isn't it?
your mate walking down aisle in Asda towards you, and he looks at you and he turns around and walks the other way because he doesn't want to speak to you. And this is what it's like. I got told when I joined the police, imagine a thin blue line holding the shit of society back, and all the nice people living on one side, living the nice little lives, going through Kent in the beautiful fields, driving all the cars, everything's hunky-dory, Prime Minister, and the wall of shit, murderers, rapists, criminals, and you were a thin blue line holding it back. Then eventually you'll do your 30 years and you're like, I'm knackered now. And all they do is pull you back and put a probationer in your place and say, stand there for 30 years and hold this. No one's going to miss you when you're gone. And it's not bitter. It's part of those life.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
I always say to people in the fire service, and it's a similar analogy with the police, the fire service is a black hole. Like, you can't fill it. It was here long before us and it'll be here long after. Don't set yourself on fire just to keep everybody else warm, because the only people who will remember that you came in on the weekends and worked late are your kids.
Yeah.
They're the only people. No one is going to fucking stand and clap after you're gone. They're not.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. Not because they hate you, not because they're bitter, not because the world is against you or it's unfair. That's just the way the game is. So you've got to make this thing work for you, which is what I so love that you're doing now. You're finding where that value and all of that knowledge and that experiential learning can be appreciated. Yeah.
No, I think, like you said, you've got so much training like yourself inside you. You've got to put it to good use. If you're given a platform like what we had with Interceptors, and
how did that come about? Just because this is what I like. The first thing I said to you was like, we're trying to do a few things like, no, mate. And our rabbit holes are the best places where all the great conversation lies. But like the fire service, we're getting a bad rap, brother. And I know you guys have had the George Floyd and everything like that. We are all racist, bullies, homophobic, anti-Semitics, and. You know what? There's a couple of dickheads everywhere. There's a couple of dickheads in society, and we represent society. So every now and again, someone slips through the net. And you're right, they do exist. My personal experience, very, very tiny percentage. I've met one or two who I'm like, you've got some malice in your behaviour. That's not an accident. You're a dick. But we're not doing this, kind of the purpose of the podcast. I'm like, where's the good news stories? You know, where's people talking? And then you're not a great example because people have acknowledged you and you've created for yourself a wonderful platform. But you will know as well. And I wonder if, like, I always ask 10 questions at once. I'm terrible at this. This is the ADHD brain. But, like, how many great officers have you met where you're like, dude, you should put yourself out there. You should write a book. You should start your own podcast. You should start a YouTube channel because you've got so much knowledge. You know, I did the Interceptors thing, but you are an expert in cybercrime. You're an expert in whatever. And they're like, nah, fucking hell, Ben, that's not for me. That's not. And you're like, but everyone's just going to say all the police are just bullies then. They're all bullies and they beat people unless you give them I think, romantically, and please tell me if I'm wrong, I think the public wants to cheer for the emergency services. Not like COVID clapping for paramedics, which we should have done, and that was great. We don't give them a lightning rod to go, wow, look at that police officer that's just done something. I'm really proud of them. Look at that firefighter that we've put on a pedestal. Look at that paramedic, you know. All we hear is the bad news stories because they're the salacious, interesting ones that we spread on social media. How did the Intercept? Because Interceptors must have been, like you said, like that was an incredible recruitment tool.
Yeah.
Like the SSU Des Wins, incredible recruitment tool for the military. And the military don't even run it. It's fuck all to do with the military. You know, but your thing, the service is obviously signed off on it. And also there was one in London. What was the 24 hours in A&E?
Yeah.
Fantastic recruitment tool. We don't do any of this in the fire service. It's really shit. Yeah. So how did it come about? Who approved it? How did it happen?
We had traffic cops film with us for a while, and one of these things, Women Natural White Streak, I got recognised all over where I work, and I live where I work. So I had enough shit with going to the gym, going out for beers, going to restaurants, fucking getting followed, getting abused. And they came in one day, traffic cops, and were like, we need more people, and I refused to go on it. I was like, I've got enough problems in my life, I don't want to go on it. So I missed all the traffic cop series, apart from, I think, 2 episodes where I were on it, but I was background, saying a few words, doing this, but I want a main character. Then they came and they filmed two Interceptors with us, and West Yorkshire Police, and it literally blew Channel 5 out of water. It was the highest grossing programme Channel 5 has had. and it went
Wow.
stratospheric.
Well,
And
it's still pretty constant repeat now on
West
Dave or
Yorkshire
whatever
is
it is,
still
doesn't
the
it? Yeah.
highest. Yeah, West Yorkshire is still the highest grossing thing for them. It's still the biggest baby, and I think that's where my luck's fallen, because that's why I'm pulled into Channel 5 all the time, because it's on prime time all the time. Is
Yeah.
the West Yorkshire one? But anyway, they came in and they kept on asking me to do it, and I'm like, no, no, no. And don't take this wrong way. There's this lad called James, cameraman, and he is what every girl would fucking dream about. He's got a body like you. He's a good-looking lad. He's into Krav
I'm
Maga.
only good from the neck down.
He lives in Cornwall. He does like Tai Chi on beach. He goes
Handsome
around world
bastard.
filming. He's a proper yo dude. And he comes in and he's filming. And then my poor baby Ben, who I was shooting at the time, I'm going. I think I were on motorcycle duties, and then I go on motorcycle duties, come back, and Ben says, "I went with an interceptors yesterday." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? No, stay away from it. It's bad news,
Hey.
bad juju." And he went, "It was really good, because the idea being is like you, we were slaves to radio. So imagine you being in your tender, but are not a slave to radio, and you can go anywhere around your area and go, any call that comes out, fucking juiciest call in the world comes out because you've got a camera crew here. And all they want to see is the Hollywood shit."
Yeah.
So I says, "No, I'm not doing it." He says, "Please." And James comes over.
Why? Why? What? Obviously, like you said, people knew you locally. You felt there was more risk than good, but because isn't this? And I don't know. Am I making the wrong connection here? Is this a national pride thing where people are like, we're very self-deprecating in the UK, aren't we? We're like, oh no, fuck, nah, fucking don't talk. Like, I used to have it with the podcast. Like the first year, struggling to get guests. Now we're fucking inundated with people, and it's kind of a thing. But it's like getting people to open up and talk about, because like you said, there's so many fascinating police officers. But like you were one of them to start with. It was like, no, that shit's not for me. And they're like, dude, you'd be fascinating. People will fucking love you. You love this job.
Yeah, I think the idea being is you've got column A, which you've just said, and column B, where the police are just their own worst enemy. They're in they're like the Beckhams. You're in the family bubble, and everyone else outside the family bubble is a traitor, a liar, a criminal. You can't trust them. You can't do this, and you're never going to earn what we're earning £2,000 a month in place. You're never going to earn anything. Your pension's never going to be as good. You're in your family bubble. Stay in your family bubble. And then to do interceptors, you're sort of like putting your leg outside that family bubble. If it goes wrong, it's on you. You're on your own. It's that kind of thing.
That's it. But that's honestly why they did it, because the fire service is scared to death of committing professional suicide. Well, we've only started having loads of senior leaders on in the last couple of years, because a lot of them were just scared to death of it. They're like, I don't see what benefit it would be, and the likely scenario is I say something stupid, and that's me fucked.
Well, the idea, just to put some context into it there, the people that are with you, like the camera crews, whatever, all they want is your best interest at heart. They sit down in car and say, "We will not."
Did you trust them from the get-go, though?
You are.
Did you? I bet you were on your best behaviour the first few times before you. Fucking hell! Didn't say a swear word for the first 3 shifts.
Series 2 or whatever. So I'll tell you how it works. So I went out with them. I says, no. I says, I'll go out with you, but I'm driving. Don't ask me out. Don't put me out. So it says, nothing's recorded, but in our car, we've got our own camera anyway. So you've got to understand the fact that you don't say anything bad. You can't say anything bad, really, but you have a laugh with your mates. And I'm not going to cut it. Yeah, we were last night, and she did. You can say what you want, that sort of thing.
Come on.
And then when you press record in the car, say car makes off press record, it instantly records 5 minutes before. So you can't fluff it, because that'll go to Crown Court. And if you're going, no, look at boobs on her, oh, stolen car, they'll play it in Crown Court. So you've always got to be aware it's in traffic car. So we're in car, and James went...
So, sorry, because I think I skipped past that. So that's the same in all of the cars anyway, were you just saying?
That's traffic cars.
Right, sorry. I didn't know that. I thought they were rigging this up because they were with you.
No, so hang on, this is what I'm saying.
Sorry.
So James tells us it's exactly the same concept, but it's 2 minutes. It's not 5 minutes. So I'm like, oh that's fine, is that? If it were so as soon as he presses the button, it records 2 minutes before. So he's got his cameras in car now. He's got his cameras on Baby Ben, my colleague, and he's got a big camera. And he says, as soon as you see out and you go, I'll just press a button and it'll go blip blip in car. You'll hear the big blip blip, and it basically means we're recording on his systems. But instantly, as soon as I saw it, everything, I press record on my systems as well. So I'm like, well, I'm not out. I'm just recording. So literally, we went out, and within the first 2 minutes of going out, we're in Bradford. Car comes past me. I'm like, fuck that. Turn on it. I go blip blip. Pursuit straight away within the first 2 minutes. Chasing this car around Bradford. Gets out, just lad. He runs off. All this stuff happens. And then you have what's called the golden ticket. So what means when you go on Interceptors, the first bit on the beginning of Interceptors, the golden ticket is the first Internight show, and it gives you the this is golden ticket. Your headline acting on one of Interceptors. So I'm like, oh, fucking hell, right. So anyway, I hid down, and then we got this car recovered from this pursuit and set off. And fucking hell, don't like blip blip like that. 2 seconds later, X-ray Romeo 5-2 vehicle failed to stop. He went golden ticket. I think first day we had like 5 golden tickets. That's why we were so prominent on that show. And he went, we won't produce. He went, we've got some right thief takers here, me and Baby Ben. And I was like, I've fucking saw myself up now. I've ruined everything. And he went back to office and went, we want you to be in it. And I says, I can't talk on camera. He says, you've already in theory signed your fate. You've got 5 golden tickets. You're going to be known nationally. Just do it. So I went, right, fine.
Why did you feel like a dick talking on camera? Because people have this even with a podcast. I'm like, it's just a chat. It's not an interview.
It's a white streak. And then I'm happy now, but then I were a bit like, everyone judges me. I felt like I imposter syndrome. I don't like to be judged of who I am. I feel like I've got
public speaking is the number one global fear. More than death, more than spiders.
Accent. I should be on Emmerdale. It's that, hurry, lad. Does I want a cup of tea? And I felt like I sound like an idiot. And literally, I spoke to the chief inspector who knew me, and he's literally the chief inspector went, just be you and take the piss. So I went, right, all right. So I said, I'm not anything bad.
I don't think our senior leaders would say that. So that's really good of that person.
It says anything bad, we'll cut out. And James basically went, so I'll tell you a story now. And please don't judge me for it. And if anyone else judges me for it, that's listening now. It's not me. It's how it is, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even think. So I'm sat in car, and we're looking for someone. And this is just how its story came out, looking for someone. And the suspect is known to have tattoos, but obviously like yourself, he's a big lad, tattoos, Jave dead. Like that. And they said, and we believe he's Eastern European. So I'm sat at traffic lights and I see this lad looking like you coming to the way, and I says, fucking hell, he looks like that lad there. And he said, how do you know he's Eastern European? And he was meant to be from Poland. I said, well, he looks Polish, and all Polish have tattoos, don't they? And Ben went, you can't say that, you're on camera, you can't say that. And James just went, I haven't pressed record, Ben, you're fine. And I'm like, all right, he says, we'd never make you look stupid. And it was just how it came out, it made me sound a bit bad.
But isn't that bullshit as well? Like, because when people say don't judge a book by its cover, of course we fucking do. We have to. Yes. And it's part of your hypervigilance as an officer. I need to compartmentalise you quickly. I need to assess you as a threat, not a set. You know, the way we describe, you know, people in the street, in the codes that you guys use, we could do that anyway. That's good policing. But then, like you say, because I always say to people, I'm a combination between Deadpool, a Polish person, and someone that looks like they should have a carer with them. You know, I'm an ex-steroid taking, recovering addict. I fit the mould of some, and I used to work the doors. Of course, I used to fucking work the doors. Look at me, for God's sake. I was shit at it, but nobody knew because I was just big enough, and I couldn't throw a punch. But if I could just get my hands on you, but no, the point I'm making is like, we're going to stereotype people. We do it. This don't judge a book by a cover. It's bollocks.
No, I mean, if you saw a bloke walking down the street at 3 a.m. outside your house wearing a balaclava, what do? His head's cold? Or you think he's a burglar? You're stereotyped.
People cross the road, me walking down with a fucking German Shepherd in the middle of the night, don't they? Look at me, for God's sake. I might be lovely, or I might be your worst nightmare. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And I accept that. It made me feel bad a little bit, but get over it.
But that's their problem. It's not your problem. Yeah. But and then I never realised it was such a big show. So most people, it's an itty-bitty little show on Channel 5, 8 o'clock.
It's not, it's massive.
It's not worth it. It's fucking world famous.
Famous. People will be using that as a template of how do we do this.
So we're getting off plane at JFK Airport in New York and all the Canaries. Interceptor! And we're like, fucking hell. Go to Spain, walking out beach in Spain, getting stopped. And you just don't realise how, because they sell it on world market. A bit like Top Gear, all this stuff. They sell it on world market. So you sat in a bar in France and they're just playing it on Spanish TV. The amount of messages I get from people in Norway, Switzerland, Germany, I don't even know where Belarus is. Belarus, that are literally just saying, "Oh, we're watching."
They
you on
love
TV.
British music and they love British TV.
Yeah,
They just do.
everywhere you look at TV now, like Channel 5, everything's cops. You look at stuff on BBC One, police scammers, scammer this, police this, on day patrol, blue light badge this. You look at all action stuff on ITV and all these sitcoms or Happy Valley, all these other things that have come up. They're all police based, and like you said, I think people want to like the emergency services.
They do.
Because
So, like, help me, because I feel like, and I'm going to tell you, I think we've got a better product than you. Okay, we're not cops and robbers. Okay, we don't spoil anyone's fun, except when we're putting out the travellers' bonfires.
Yeah.
London's
Girls love
burning.
it. Girls love it.
Why can't we have London's burning again?
What you have catalogues and fucking calendars with all tops off, and women are like,
Yeah, that's fuck all to do with the fire service, though.
Firefighters,
And I get it. But we don't champion that, and our services won't go, hey, look, I know a couple of lads from London Fire Brigade that do all the modelling stuff. Again, I'm only okay from the head down, so this bit can't fix it. Why can't we do that? Like, if you came in as an advisor to the HMI,
yeah,
Her Majesty's Inspectorate, they inspect all the fire service, and we've not been great. We've struggled a bit, mate. I'll be brutally honest with you. It's not been very happy reading. How do we? I'm asking the impossible question. Join me in Utopia for a minute. What would you do?
What would I do now? I'd first of all film recruitment because this is what they did with the army thing. I'd film the recruitment process. I'd film the recruits in the. I don't know if you have like stables anymore with the new recruits. Do you all put them in barracks?
Yeah.
I'd put them all in there. I'd have cameras in. I'd do the driver training. That's one of the things. I'd do the what's it called now?
The fire behaviour training, the RTC training, the rope rescue.
Yeah, you'd have
the aero ladder platforms, mate. We've got so much.
Yeah.
We've got so much content every day on every fire station in the UK. It's just, I'm just like, where's the positive? Where's the stuff that I see every day, that we all see every day? Why are the public not seeing that?
It's not that you're back to insular old hats who don't believe in Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. But this is where the world's gone. The world's gone on social media. So I'm trying to teach. Have you heard of George Carr's Media, who films Devon and Cornwall Police?
Yeah.
And he does 1.1 million followers. He's made Devon and Cornwall Police world famous. The infrastructure, the people that go there on holiday, blah, 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 blah. Mark McCann, famous YouTuber, he's now doing it at West Mercia, and I've asked to do it in North Yorkshire. And everyone's scared. Oh, we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be going. Pretty soon TV's going to be dead. Once your mum and dad go, no one's going to be watching Coronation Street. No one's going to tune in to EastEnders. Everyone, your daughter, everyone is
all YouTube, Netflix,
got to
Amazon
be online
Prime.
now to be anybody. So they need to have the dedicated channels. They need to have, like I've said, North Yorkshire, where we are now, massive deaths for motorbikes. Let's get on TikTok, YouTube, and let's do motorcycle videos. What's legal, what's not legal, rider training, watch this video for a bit of ride. Mm-hmm. Do it all. Get out there so you become.
But how do you get them to do it in less of a corporate way? Because I've watched loads of the Interceptor stuff. You guys talk like we're talking now. And every now and again, there's a swear word, not out of malice or anything like that. But this is where we miss the message because we're stuck in our self-created prison of professionalism. Do you know what I mean? And we go, oh no, get rid of all of that because Ben said, oh shit, I've just bashed my knee as I got out of the car. Yeah. Oh no, take it all out. Why? Because the public will say we're unprofessional and he's just been swearing. Well, it's contextual. Yeah. Get a fucking grip.
Well, back to what you've just said now about it's what public will complain. First of all, it shouldn't be about what the public want. You should be humanised on TV. You should be shown crying. You should be shown being sick. You should be shown what it's like after you've dealt with a death and you're covered in your soot and you're sat in a corner room, you've got your head down. But it's about trust as well. It's about saying at someone, a production company, and letting them run with the stick and saying, I trust you. Like Raw Cut, who we do Interceptors with, Raw Cut would be brilliant. I could put you in contact with Raw Cut and say, this is what we're thinking of doing. And that they could come up with a production plan, speak to the bosses, they run it all for you. They do not sell anybody out. They do it that way. But one thing I'm going to say to you now is, do you remember when we started this podcast? I went right to the beginning and I went, we've gone too far when people don't know what they know, people don't know who they are, people don't know if they're a he, she, people don't know if they're non-binary, they don't know if they're what religion are, the Jedi Knight. It's gone too far about why we're worrying about what people think. Why do we have to apologise to someone what happened 50 years ago? Why do we have to worry about what people think? We are the police. We should answer 999 calls. We should prevent crime and save lives. That's what we should do. You are the fire service. You should put fires out, save lives, rescue people. Why does it matter what Hilda, who might hate the fire service from birth, thinks that she could put in her complaint? Does it matter? And I'm saying to bosses, it doesn't matter, because your profile will always be your profile, even if you don't have this TV thing on, or you don't have the social media thing on. So police's profile at the moment, I think, is dog shit. People hate the police. And that's why I try and do what we try and do, because we're trying to show people that the police are good people who work hard.
You've got to be part of the conversation. Like saying no comment and saying, like, when we have a lot of officers on scenes and they don't want to speak to the media, well, the media is going to do something. They're going to tell a story. So either be part of the story, or you'll always be trying to catch it up, because they'll go, oh, right, just right this instant we can see 6 fire engines, don't seem to be doing anything. It's obviously getting worse, and no one seems to be taking action.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas you speak to an officer and they just go, right, we're currently dealing with fire spread into the second floor. It looks like we've had a fire gas ignition in the rear compartment, and we were going to deploy in sector 1, but we're now moving 4 of our resources round to the rear sector because we're trying to protect it from spreading to the school or that smoke spread to the motorway. And they go, oh, right, yeah. Get part of the conversation, because in the absence of information, the natural pessimist, like if you go quiet now for 10 minutes, might be because your daughter's dead or you put me on mute, but my defense animal inside me will go, oh, fucking Ben hates me, he's ignoring me, I'm obviously not having an interesting conversation with him, because that's the default. We'll fill in with the negative. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be part of the conversation, because all of that negativity about the police is already out there. You've got to get something on your side of the scales.
Well, have you seen, are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
There's a guy called Paul Cordin. I don't know if you're aware of him. North Yorkshire Traffic Sergeant, Oscar Romeo 152, I think he was. He's just retired now after 30 years service. I'll put you in contact with Paul.
Please do.
There's certain bobbies get told. I'll tell you this. So when I run West Yorkshire Twitter, I put something like, I was saying something and I did a job and I put hashtag something. Then I got a complaint made about me. But it was something like hashtag find your wheels. Oh, you shouldn't put that because people might think, why you've got to walk home? Well, we seized your fucking car. That's why you've got to walk home. X, Y, and Z. Don't put this on. You can't put no one's wearing a mask on. And like, people might hate us. Who gives a fuck? We're police officers. They're breaking the law. So Paul Cordin, North Yorkshire, Bobby, he were all over Twitter. He were twittering everything. But all he ever did was good stuff. He run for charity. He made thousands. He were in a campaign for the lady who got knocked over in a collision, so she was paralysed. So it were all about road safety. And he hammered it. He ended up getting an OB or MB, something like that. He's just retired. He's got a heart of gold. It's fantastic.
I hope he has the same mindset as you, though, and realises he's more than just the thing he does, if that makes sense. Because, like you say, he's entering into your kind of world now where you two would be like fucking Avengers working together and doing some national stuff. We've
said this to each other, and like we're saying that to you now. It should be every job you do that's positive. It's make a relationship with your local paper. It's in the paper. Pete saves a child. This force does this. And get out there in social media and push it out to.
We used to have this stupid shit though, where like, and you're far more intelligent than me on this. Where if there was like a number plate or you could see the house number, they'd be like, "Don't put it up." And I'm like, I could find it on Google Earth. That is publicly. And I only learned this when I did a proper GDPR course, and they were like, "No, that's bullshit." Yeah. If it's, and you'll know probably the terminology better than me, but if it's publicly available information, i.e., someone's number plate, it doesn't matter. But is it because you could identify them because of it? But also like...
No, it's data protection. What data protection you can get from a number plate? Nothing. But people, they sit in the little office. I'm going to lay one more thing on you. And
go on.
I'm not talking about a certain force, but certain forces, I've got friends in it, brilliant. But certain forces let me down a little bit. It's the force itself. It's not the people that are in it. Because I've done some filming with them and then... I've been asked to go back. I've contacted him and he says, yeah, I'm ready to come back. And the base went, no, you're not coming back now because of X, Y, and Z. Our corporate comms and PR have said this. And this has come from a high-ranking officer. And I'm like, who's advising you on that? Because it's about a car they've already got. And they've already put it out on social media. So I said, I'll be the first YouTuber to come and show it worldwide. Well, we're going to do it this way because of X, Y, and Z. And I've said this to Assistant Chief Constable. I says, you're being led down the wrong path by someone who knows nothing about social media here. They're going to crucify
It'll be shit.
Yeah, it's shit. And they wanted to do it to something like a Mary Poppins song. And I'm like, they're going to ruin you. Get it out there. Get the trust built up with the community. Get the trust built up with the car world. Get
Authenticity.
Be true to what the people want. The people don't want to see some lying story. The people want to see what you've got, why it's used, and who you are as a force. And that's it. And I really think there's too many old hats and there's too many people that have been at university and studied a PR course and said, we think this will work. And no matter, Bobby, I speak to all of UK, like, our PRs are killing us. This is killing us. And it's literally, give me the trust. I'll put you in the media. I'll get my contacts with you. I'll put you through the YouTube thing. We'll push you out there and we'll get all these fans on your side and we'll show all great work you do, all lives you save. And this is what Paul Cording were doing. Every time they were fatal and every time someone was saved, he was pushing out there and they loved him for it. And that's why he became one of the top Twitter bobbies, because of the work he does. And that's what you need to be doing now with your fire services.
You're so right, mate. You need those. I would like and speak to that as in like a PR plumber, because, like you say, I always think it's like business is a good example. Someone that's been in academia for 21 years, done university, done a MBA, and then goes back to university and lectures in business. And you see your Simon Sinek's of the world, but also jab, 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 right hook. What's the book?
Jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah, jab, jab, right hook. What's his fucking name? Oh, I'm proper blanking on it. Let's do Steve Jobs. Jobs or anyone else, the Bill Gates, the examples work. James Dyson's another great example.
Right.
When they go and lecture at universities, people listen. Because they're a business plumber. They've been out there in the weeds doing it. Make it Sir Richard Branson. Yeah. They're the people that when they go, no, this is how you do, this is business. That shit doesn't work. That shit doesn't work. You've just sat in your ivory tower having theoretical conversations. Show me what you've done. Do you know what I mean? Like the podcast is still very much in its infancy. We've been doing it 4.5 years, but all of this is self-taught, and I always call it learning out loud. But I'm just getting it wrong and not caring enough until it gets better. And the train just needs to keep moving forwards. And I get a lot of senior leaders. Some of them come on, some of them don't. But especially the ones that don't, they hate how many people listen to it, because they're like, it's not polished enough, and it's not. And we should do the video better, and I should be better, and I am trying, I am learning. I do have a speech coach and all this rubbish. But I'm like, get over yourself. I guarantee there should be someone other than me doing this. The National Fire Chiefs Council should be doing this. But they're not, because they're too scared.
They're not you, though. It will flop.
They've tried it. So they had, there's a thing called Firecast. There was another podcast. And because what they're saying is, and you've seen this, like, you'll go to that service that we spoke about and they go, no, thanks, Ben. We're going to get James or Sally to do it from it. So you're going to make them do it. They don't want to do it, but you're going to give them that as a project at work, because they don't want to do it. They're being made to do it. And a podcast is a great example. I can't fake. We've been talking for 2 hours. I can't fake a 2-hour conversation with Ben, because it just sounds like a news interview and it's shit. Yeah. It's not authentic. Like, and I say this to senior leaders, I'm like, when you have your meetings, just dictaphone on the table, just press record and then release it to the whole service. Because then people actually understand what you're on about. But you don't do that because you're petrified of what people are going to say or do. They know what you're like. They've met you. And then when they hear you talk on the BBC, they're like, that's not Ben. I've met Ben. Ben's funny and gregarious and interesting and cheeky. That's not Ben. And it's just like, it just screams inauthenticity. And then they wonder why it's shit.
What people need to do, though, all these senior officers, as they know, and if they listen to this, they need to, I've always said, you can't see it, but I'm squeezing my fist. That is still touching the finger. So that is touching the finger. Just stop holding on so tight. What are you holding on so tight for? Because when they retire, they won't care. They will not. So when they're inside now and they want to be, well, you need to do this. I understand about dressing department. I understand about you look a bit shit. I understand clean your tender. I understand be there on time. That's brilliant. But when you're reaching out and doing something new, which we didn't do podcasts in 30s or 80s because they weren't podcasts. Podcast is the new way forward. Everyone does podcasts. Even Prince William does podcasts. Now it's time to let go, let the podcast run with how they're going to be. And if someone like you leads up the first podcast and it's successful, push that person into a sexual platform. What do you want from us? I'd like a bit of a studio, or I'd like this. Right, fine.
That's what we need. We need an engine behind this. Do you know there's 3.2 million global? So we recently took on someone that helps us with a little bit of data, because when we're talking to partners, we need some data. And they said there's 3.2 million podcasts in the world. Now, I acknowledge some of those are podcasts that have just recorded 2 episodes 3 years ago and never recorded another one again. 3.2 million, and you can access them anywhere in the world. We're number 43 in the UK in personal development.
Yeah.
And we're a niche within a niche. So what the hell are people doing? Because most of it's about the fire service or the emergency services.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't understand how it's working, but it's working. And it's not the Pete Wakefield show. And we'll look back on this in 10 years' time. I hope we're still doing it then. And we'll go, God, it was terrible. Listen to it. Good Lord. You know, I listened to this stuff 4 years ago. It's a fucking train crash. I sound like a radio DJ. But I'm like, look, just start. Because people want it, they want to hear from. I will have met Ben many times. I sit on shift in the middle of the night when the paramedics come back or the coppers just come in, and I'm like, God, you're fascinating. And it's I'm sure everyone does this. You run a podcast and you tell everyone else to run a podcast because you're like, guys, you should run a podcast. You're hilarious. This guy and girl that work in the car together, and you'll have met thousands of them.
Yeah.
Their rapport, their banter. I'm like, you would be an incredible sales pitch for recruitment. But they're scared. They won't do it because of what? The service. And I say, like, we'll successfully make ourselves insignificant out of fear.
Yeah. But what's the fear of? What is the fear of? It's the fear that I don't know if you've what's that chimp brain thing? It's the fear of non-acceptance, the fear of you've got to mate, and the survival. Yeah. So it's the fear of not being accepted. But who's going to accept you? Are you scared you're not going to get into the firefighters boys club at the annual general meeting, and they're going to reject you? Who's going to reject you? Because the other people that the chief's got to justify yourself to is who, and then that's it. So it's not like they're going to go to the special awards ceremony for the firefighters, and you're going to be on back seat because they don't like your podcast. You don't. It's just literally like, have you heard that podcast? Firefighters all over.
It becomes part of the vernacular, which is what I like now. Like, because we don't do the visual aspect of it, we go to a lot of places, and because they don't know what you look like, you hear it, and people go, "Oh, did you hear that thing on the podcast?" And you're just listening, and you're like, they don't have to say the Firefighters podcast because they know which podcast they're on about, and they're talking about a recent episode, and you just sit there, and it's like, wow, surreal, weird. And again, this is not me. This episode will be great because of Ben. I always say it's about the most important thing for me is guest experience. This is Ben's story and we're talking about Ben, but it's a conversation. So you're going to throw bits of yourself in there as well. I wanted to ask you, because I want to be conscious of time as well. We are going to go past my time, but that's absolutely fine because I'm just loving talking to you. We've talked about a lot of the great elements and the challenges in our communication and stuff like this. We did reference the toll that this thing takes on people. And I've been trying to have this conversation in the fire service recently because I think stress flipped and took over musculoskeletal injuries a couple of years ago. I haven't got the data in front of me, but it's the biggest work time loss cost is long-term stress and mental health. And we write it on walls and we put it in papers and stuff like this. For me, and this is the question I want to ask you, when people join the fire service, we do lots of fitness testing. Yeah, I'm sure that I know they do similar in the police. I don't think they do enough in the police because part of my job is, yes, I'm going to run around and do some stuff. A genuine expectation of your job is you're going to come into physical contact with someone, definitely once a month, maybe more often.
Yeah.
And I think we're setting you up to fail. But we don't do anything mental. Like we do some maths and English. But I feel like we should be doing psychological testing, when you come in, and then every year annually. So annually we do a fitness test. Annually, it should be mandated that I sit down with a therapist for an hour because that's going to cost the service 50, 60 grand a year. I'm a watch commander. If I go off sick, that costs 40 grand a year, probably more because that's what I get paid. So it actually costs the service maybe 50 grand to employ me. Plus the person that they're paying to replace me on overtime, 90 grand, maybe, I don't know. It's going to cost them to replace me for a year. You're going to pay for that person immediately. So quick, that person will be paid for.
Yeah.
What preparation were you given? Talk to me about mental health, trauma, exposure, resiliency. What did you said, again, we've referenced it earlier in the book, the system failed you. Expand on that for me.
I think so. I put something out on social media a while ago, a video, and the amount of comments I got from it of people, trolls, basically saying this lad should have never been in police. Obviously, due to mental health, this lad should have never done this. This lad X, Y, and Z. Well, why did you join the job if you? Well, you join the job because you want to make a difference. You don't join the job expecting for your brain to melt in theory. And I'm one of these, and I've always apologised for, but I thought mental health for weak people. I've always said it. So everyone that's listening now, I can apologise. And it was never going to be me. It were always someone else. I were like you. I were a bit of an Action Jackson. I were always there at jobs, always there, first in fights, first in pursuits, first to wrestle someone. Just did not care. I thought, get your hands dirty. Let's have loads of fun. And it's only when you realise I have this. When I lecture, you have this backpack scenario. Your backpack's always 65% full. It's full with your health, your home, your money, and your job. So it's always full with that. Something happens, so you and your missus break up, your daughter gets ill or something like that, it can go up to 100%. You turn on duty with that 100% backpack, and first thing you do is go to a car fire with 2 dead children in it. Where's that emotional luggage going to go? Because you can't go in your backpack that you're carrying around. Where's it going to go? So your body can only take so much and your mind can only take so much. And it's back to what I was saying earlier on about this wave of holding it back. And when you go, you're gone. You're a bit of a commodity. And if people need to understand that, no matter how much love you've got in the job, you've got to be able to do the job and get out. But emotionally wise, yeah, I was fit at the time, I'm not anymore. But not one person sits down and goes, right, this is what you could see. And we're all aware of what goes on and what we see and what we do, same with fire service. But I never thought for 1 minute I'd be putting people in bin liners with shovels because they've rotted that far away. I never thought I'd be picking legs up outside the road and hands that had been cut off and watching then alert lick the brain out of the young lad that were laid on the floor. I never thought I'd be dealing with a 2-year-old decapitated by a truck the first day back after my mum's funeral. You just don't realise this stuff, and all this stuff that you're seeing as firefighters every day or every month compounds. And the only way I can describe it is it's like imagine your memory box as a filing cabinet. And every time you see something bad, death or pain, goes into a black box, it goes on top of the filing cabinet like Lego. How high can this thing go? Like with Lego that clicks together before it starts to bend. And when it bends and it falls, that's when you have your breakdown. And I never understood this until I broke. And then I'm outside of a collision in Bradford, pissing myself, not knowing who I am, not knowing where I am, and only that I'm in a uniform, to the point of having a child that I didn't want. And then thinking about sitting on edge of bath with a knife to my wrist, bath full of water, going around B&Q picking my rope. I picked the tree out. And then 6 months before, my life was fucking brilliant. And I was going out, living the dream. I was having great fun with my family. I was great. Not knowing that you're dying inside. And then one thing happens and the switch goes and it goes. And I've said this, and this is nothing to do with the police or West Yorkshire Police. This is just how the time was at the time when you used to look back and you used to watch things that are acceptable now. Not one person saw, not one person understood, not one person leant forward and gave me a cuddle. Not one person said, you're going to be all right, we'll look after you. It will literally like, we'll put you through as much shit as you can deal with, and then we'll just turn us back on you, we'll wash your hands of you. And that's how it felt. So my retirement, after 19 years, I come out of gym and my federation run me up and went, you gone? I went, what? And they went, you gone. That's it. You're not a bobby. You're a civilian. You're done. That's all I got. And I'm like, imagine this. I'm just going to do this now. Imagine this silence now. You're gone. That's all there was. There was nothing. And I thought, all fucking lives I've saved, all hours I've given back, all fights being knocked over, my damaged spine that I've got now, my broken arm, my brain injury when I've got brain damage and I had to learn to write again with my left hand. Every single thing that I've been through, and I ain't got literally thank you. I ain't got a handshake. I ain't got a cuddle. I ain't got a we understand. My mum and dad are both dead now. My mum's. I've just literally went. My mum. I don't know if you've obviously read book, but my mum goes in for an operation. 11 days later, I take the authority to switch the ventilator off. Then within a couple of months, my dad sits me down and got terminal cancer. So he's my hero. Christmas time, we're hugging him. Just a shell of a man, and he passes away, dies. First day after my funeral, the 2-year-old, and all this shit. And it's a phone call when I come out of gym, and then literally everyone I work with turn their back, saying, "You're a fraud. It's not mental health. If I can cope, why can't you cope?" But everyone's built differently. So I won't say, "Well, I've done this, Pete. You're different." Everyone's got a different level. All these firefighters or ambulance police that are listening to this now, everyone's got a different tolerance level. Everyone's backpack's different. Don't judge me until you've walked in my shoes, because I'll never judge you. But my thought is now is, if someone's struggling, what is the problem with saying, "I've never met you before at all, Pete, but after this I'll give you my phone number. And if you're ever struggling," and I mean it, you're ever struggling 3 morning, you ring me. I'll always pick the phone up. I might be tired, but I'll pick the phone up. The only time I won't pick the phone up, I always say, is when I'm having a shit. Now I will pick it up when I'm having a shit, because I don't care anymore. But the amount of people I've met over the last 2 years, and these are people that have run me, sports me, and they've done the same. Emergency service workers, people from all over the UK, in fact some from all over the world. And I've said the same, exactly the same. If you need me, ring me, because no one were there when I needed to ring them. Wash their hands of me. And I'm not bitter for it, because that's how life is. You've got to understand that they're not doing anything bad. They're just doing something they don't understand. It's mental health. You can't see it. You're not going into work with a pot on your arm or a limp or a black eye. You're going into work every day, and every day you're getting worse. And all you can think about is blackness, death, suicide, that the world will be a better place if you're not in it. And I never understood that. I used to think they were failures. You're a failure, and all you want is people's attention. But then when I'm sat on edge at Bath and I've got a knife to my wrist, I'm thinking like, fucking do it. No one's going to miss you. No one's going to miss you. And then your thought is, you are less in life than a fucking human or a gnat or whatever it is. No one cares about you. Do it. Just do it. And I thought, that's when life gets to be a point. And everyone that listens to this now, it can happen to anybody. So all I say is talk. If you're sad, talk. Reach out to your friend. Ask for a cuddle. Be that person. Don't ever be afraid. I've never met anyone that's listening to this, but I'm proud to say I suffer from mental health issues, because if I didn't, it'd build up inside me. It's cathartic for me to say. And this is all I want to put out there. So with our message for PTSD awareness, anyone can contact us. Anyone can stand there and say, "I'm struggling." And I will return that message and say, "Look, do not struggle. There's always someone here that will care about you. And there's always someone that will put their arms around you and say, you are not alone." Bit deep, that, wasn't it?
Yes, but I think it hit so hard for me personally because of my own. I think if I wasn't an addict, I wouldn't have been able to accidentally access the things that I needed to access.
Yeah.
I lean on my sponsor a lot. I went through something called Narcotics Anonymous, and that, in combination with this is kind of a reason this kind of started. It's like a pressure release valve for me. Yeah. I feel less alone when I speak to people like you, because otherwise I feel like I just don't fit in.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I feel. I feel like no matter what I've done in life, and people come up to you, "Can I have your autograph? Can I have your photo? I've seen you on TV. I love this. I love your book. I've done this." Fine. But I still walk around thinking, who the fuck am I? What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And I'm not doing it for like, why am I doing it because you want to be rich or you want to be famous? Because that's never going to happen. Why am I doing it? And I'm thinking, I don't know. I just don't know. But I've lost my identity as a Bobby. And if I've given a platform to be able to help people so they don't end up taking their lives and leaving a daughter without a dad or a son without a dad, that's what I'll do. Because I don't want to be in that predicament. I don't want to leave my kids now in that predicament. And I don't know what it's for. I don't expect to get to big fucking white pearly white gates and St. Peter and St. Paul going, "You can come in, Ben, you've been a good lad." I don't know if it's because I've done wrong at some point in my life, or I've done something wrong in my past life and I'm being told this is how I've got to live now. I'm just trying to do the best of what I've been given. And in simple terms, I've been given lemons. And I'm fucking trying hard to make lemonade.
But also, isn't there a gift as well in people that start these things, and your everything you've done is significantly more successful than what this is. But like, you've grown your spectrum. Your version of a worst day is on a spectrum that includes leaning over a bath with a knife to my wrist. Yeah. So a lot of stuff in your day-to-day life doesn't get down there to that spectrum, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that becomes an accidental secret superpower, but it's almost like you have to go right up to the edge to be able to grow that. And now your secret superpower is not no fucks given, but you're just so unabated. The reins are off your own self-consciousness to an extent, which makes you so authentic. Fucking, you're like preaching to a choir. Everything you say is pushing on an open door with me, because it's just beautiful. But talk to me about, you made it through that moment, I want to say by blind luck, and there'll have been, but I don't want to take all of the accountability off you and the acknowledgement. Like, what was the thread that stopped you falling off? What was the thin gap you made it through? If people are accelerating at that fucking wall and going, shit, the brakes are broken, where's the gap? How do I get through and start lifting out of the other side of this? Because at the minute, it doesn't look like a tunnel with a light at the end. It's a fucking cave, and I'm just accelerating into the abyss. Why are you still here?
Do you remember earlier on we were talking about the fact of these people that are sitting in this estate and saying, I'm not where I want to be because of him, she, or what they've done? No one's going to help me. There's not going to be a magic hand that's going to come down and say, I'm going to save you. And I just didn't want my children to be, I didn't have a mum and dad. They've gone. So Christmas Day, I've got no one, mum and dad to hug. I've got nowhere to go in case me and Millie broke up, go back to my mum and dad to sleep in my old bed. I've got no one to ask for advice. And something in my head says, I can't do that to my children. Imagine Isaac growing up without his dad. Who teaches me how to ride a bike? Who teaches me how to, I'm not being funny, to fight or box? Who teaches me right or wrong with girls or how to shave? And there was something in my head that were like, don't be a statistic, because no one remembers you how you are now. No one's going to remember you at all. It's not that you're doing it for a greater good and to save cancer. You're just going to blend in the background. You're going to be gone. You can do more by not doing what you're doing and by speaking out and writing and doing what we've done than you can do any other way. And now, I have bad days. I go to sleep happy. I wake up happy. I have bad days. I have down days. I have days when I don't want to get up. I have days when I contemplate and think about suicide. I won't ever do it, but I have days that I still think about it. I'm 5 years on. I'm still in therapy every Friday. I see a therapist called Gina. Still high on medication all the time. Still take 40 citalopram every day, just try and keep me on an even level. But if I didn't push, who's going to push for me? If I didn't make an effort, who's going to do it? Now, West Yorkshire Police did it because they paid me, and like fire service pay you.
They were obligated.
But when you wake up in the morning and you're not being paid, you've got no job, you've got nowhere to go. What do? So you make your own luck, you make your own career. Ollie Murs didn't have to go to X Factor auditions when it was his brother's wedding, but he did, and now look at him. It's that sort of thing. You make your own luck. And I'm not, you keep saying I'm more successful. I'm not at all. I live every day. Every day I wake up, I'm in this thing of, I'm a fraud. What's it called? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm in imposter syndrome. I don't understand it, and all I do is just tell the truth. I just talk about mental health the way I'm talking to you. Everyone I speak to, it's like I'm in pub way. I'll sit in pub, I'll just find someone random to speak to, and I don't care. I just do not care. I walk around with PTSD t-shirts on. I've got on my wrist, I've got my PTSD bangle, and I've got Andy's Man Club. And the amount of people look at Andy's Man Club and they're like, oh, oddball. And other people look at you and give you thumbs up because they know what it is. And I don't care. I'm just not bothered. So back to this thing about the fire service. What are you bothered about? Yeah. What's the big thing at the end of it? Because in 100 years, we're all going to be gone. No one cares. Leave the impact you can do today so people will learn and respect you tomorrow. All the firefighters, go home, give your parents a cuddle, give your kids a cuddle. Do that good thing. Love your job, love your family, but make the best of what you've got. It's one chance we've got. That's all we've got, one chance. And when you've gone, what happens then?
Yeah.
No. So just be happy for today. Smile today. Don't think about the past. It brings depression. Don't think about the future. It brings anxiety. Think about what's happening now, today, this minute. And when you wake up tomorrow, think about tomorrow and enjoy it.
I think that's the art of conversation as well, like being present. It's something I so focus on with my kids. Like, kids don't want all of your time. They want a bit of quality time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that interested. My daughter wants 10 minutes of me when I walk through the door.
Yeah.
You know, that's all she wants. And I want her to feel like, it was Maya Angelou, wasn't it? People will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot, you know, passing that person in the corridor. And if I said to myself now, like, right now, you've probably got 87% of my attention. What would 90% look like? You know, most of the time, I think we've got 20% of someone's attention. Yeah. And I think, right, try and force yourself. What would 90% look like? What can I do in these next 12 seconds to make Ben feel heard? Can I paraphrase what he just said? Is he a tactile person? Can I make contact? Can I offer him a hug? Can I just take those moments? And that's what I try. Like, when I come home and I bring all the baggage of life and fire service and everything like that, I'm like, how would the best dad in the world walk through the kitchen door? What would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like? What would he do? You know what I mean? And there's actually a little tree on my driveway. And I don't always do this now because it's become a mental thing. But I used to, and I stole this from somebody else, not mine. I'd get out and I'd think, oh, you're thinking about all that shit. And I'd try and, you know, Harry Potter, when they put the wand against the head and they pull thoughts out of their head. Yeah. I'd try and do that. And I'd try and be like, this doesn't belong in my house.
Leave it.
I'm going to put this outside. And if it's still here in the morning when I wake up, I'll deal with it. Yeah. But that doesn't deserve to be part of my time with my daughter. And I'm a shit parent. I'm fucking it up, as we all are. You know, no one's written the best book on parenting. We're all just winging it, yeah? But I try. When I'm having a conversation with someone, like, I've never asked someone, how you doing? If I'm not willing, if I haven't got time, and I'll just say good morning. Because I hate when people say, Ben, how are you today, brother? I haven't got time to listen to you, though, so don't say anything. And then we're puddle jumping. Yeah. We're not, and that's what I mean by the art of conversations dying. Because most people are just on broadcast. We're not on receive. And when you find someone like you who's a wonderful conversational partner, you've been very kind to me today. I really appreciate it, because I've interrupted you repeatedly and I've asked you 10 questions at once every time.
You've been brilliant.
But that is like finding an oasis in a desert. And it really makes me sad that, I think that's why podcasts are becoming so successful or so popular, is because people are craving authentic conversation. They'll listen to this and they'll feel like, I had a chat with Pete and Ben this morning. I didn't say much, but I listened. Yeah. And it was great. And I really enjoyed it. And they said things that I could relate to, and it made me feel listened to. And I think and that's what I think you have the power to do now. Like you said, when I always say to my daughter, strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. And you do that. You do what I do. I don't like going to events with friends, because I end up spending all my time with friends. And I want to go and sit on the other table. I want to go and impose myself briefly, because in a couple of minutes, you're friends with everyone on the table anyway.
Oh, mate, that's what my life is like now. It's bizarre. I get an offer come through for filming. I'll get on train on my own. I'll go to London on my own. I'll get a taxi on my own. I'll turn up a production studio on my own. I'll knock on door. They'll open door. I'm talking to 10 people I've never met before. They'll say action. You'll do a load of work. You'll give each other a cuddle, and you'll come back and you're like, I've just met a lot of people. And then you just sit down chatting, and you're thinking, if it wasn't for doing what I've done, I wouldn't meet all these nice new people. Then now you say the world is 95% shit, 5% good. The world actually is 95% good. 5% shit, but that 5% shit needs to be put away.
It's the old Jim Rohn quote where he used to say, I've looked at the statistics. There's only about 9 or 10 really bad people in the world. Problem is they move around a lot. So the chances are you're going to come across, most people, they are like me and you. They are, and they're not the ones that make it on social media, and they're not the ones that the BBC are running stories on. And that's what you fill your mind with. But you know what? Most people are good people. Well, give them time, give them space, and they want to be your friend. They really do. We want to mirror people. We're social animals. We want to build rapport. That mirror neuron inside us. I want to build rapport with Ben, because then he's not a threat to me.
I were exactly the same every time with COVID. As soon as I'm a hugger, I'm just a born hugger.
So tactile. I don't think I was hugged enough as a child. I hug
Big
everyone.
hug. Yeah, big hug. Are you all right? Big hug, big hug, big hug. And I ask girls' permissions first. I'm a hugger. No, right, fine. But everyone else, yeah, because I just think, why not? And then those people, you can feel energy straight away on people. You can feel someone and go, fucking not hugging you. You look like a right bellend. But there's other people. It's like you're just like proper hugger, yeah, proper. And I think we're old enough and wise enough now to suss people out and see what people are like in real world. But don't settle for second best. There's no point. Live for today, live your life, and have loads of fun. Don't settle for second best. Just settle for first, and that's what people deserve.
Mate, I feel like I could talk to you for another fucking 3 hours. I want to be respectful of your time. And also, and I don't say this to everyone, and people will know when they listen to the podcast, I'd love to have you on again. I'd love to meet up with you when you're down in London doing something. I feel like we could have some fucking crazy, fun, weird adventures together. And this is no bullshit. I really would love to do that, whether it's now or in 9 months' time or never. But I'd love for us to stay in contact. I mean, this won't come out for a month or two anyway, so I will be back in contact anyway. But, mate, thank you so much for your honesty and all that. So if people look, I'll change my mind because I always, not change my mind, but I'll flip my head back into what I'm supposed to be doing, which is if people do want to learn more about you, it sounds a stupid thing to say because I know people will already fucking know who you are anyway. But we're going to put links underneath. So there's a link to YouTube. There's a link to your Patreon if people love and want to support the work that you do. There'll be a link there to your LinkedIn. And again, I always say to people, we're going to try and talk about 20 years of Ben Pearson's life and then all of the stuff he's done since leaving and all the Channel 5 stuff and the TV series and the books and Handcuffed Emotions. We're going to fail. And that's fine because this whole thing is a taster of Ben because I'm not so audacious as to think, this is what I hate about 15-minute interviews. I'm like, that's so offensive. Yeah. Like, there's no way I've got an encapsulation of Ben's thoughts, anything about him really in 15 minutes. And no wonder people hate that way of discussing things. But people do want to go and find more. There's 2 books out there. 3. What's the third one?
1965 code 11. So my collar number in code 11 is good night, I'm off duty.
Oh, I only had the first 2 written down. I'm glad you told me. I sincerely apologise. No. We'll have the links to both of those, to all 3 of those will be underneath as well, because I know the first 2 definitely, because I checked them, are available on Amazon. Yeah. Did you do an audiobook?
I've done audiobook, yeah, that's available. That's through Amazon as well. But I'll give you a link to my site, so for the clothing and PTSD awareness stuff, anything like that. So, and what we do. And so, yeah, just all I'd say to people is keep smiling, keep talking. And if you want to contact me, just DM me on anything and I'll get back to you.
Dude, thanks so much for your time, brother. I love you lots.
I'm not going to go anywhere. Don't worry.
Hey. The Firefighters podcast was created to recognize, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our driving purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests. And as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means that we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, tallies, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're in the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.